another Smite update show. I am so excited to be here again. It feels like I was just sitting here like 7 minutes ago with the last show, so time is flying, Smite is changing, and things are getting better and better every day. I'm joined here by two wonderful people, somebody you recognize and somebody I may not have never had on one of my update shows anyway. We have Lermy and Kilgoon. How are y'all doing?
Hey, doing great.
Super excited to have y'all here. We have a lot to talk about today.
We do.
A lot of things.
Big day.
Big day. Very big day. And obviously there's a lot of Smite 1 to talk about, but I have been given the unique honor to talk a little bit about Smite 2 stuff to kick this show off. More specifically, and this is a cool announcement I'm so hyped they let me make, we have Smite 2 Founders Editions coming soon. This is huge. We're getting to the point now where we're going to be able to start letting y'all get into Smite 2. It's getting closer, you know, not quite there yet. It's coming soon, but Founders Editions are on the way, and I'm super excited. And that's, you know, one of the reasons we brought Kilgoon, or Alex, if you know you're hanging out at SWC here, to help me talk about this and talk through this. So Founders Editions, right?
Yeah. Y'all might have seen me on stage at SWC talking a little bit about Smite 2. I'm the executive producer of Smite, if you don't know me. And normally I'm working during the update shows, but today I'm working by being on the update show. I think since we announced Smite 2, the response has just been amazing. People are so excited. I have people in my tweets and DMs all the time asking me, hey, can I get into these like small tests that we see that you're doing? But really, like, the game hasn't been ready for a wider audience to do it, right? Like, it's fun to play a couple games, but we know that there are some key areas that we needed to fix. But we're starting to get to the point where we think that the game is ready for a bigger audience to start doing some alpha testing, which is why we're going to have these Founders Editions available for you to purchase soon. We're saying soon. We aren't giving you an exact date because we still need to get through some certification on the console side. There's a few other things that we need to get polished up. But please do stay tuned. It's coming really soon, hopefully, and y'all will be able to get your hands on it at home. So
yeah, and these are really cool because it's going to get you a plethora of things, not the least of which is access to these early alpha tests we're talking about. And you know, I always like to tell y'all how invaluable y'all are to us. I mean, we're here in the 11th year working on the second game because the community has stuck around and helped us figure things out and helped us just get through these crazy years. And we need you more than ever now as we get towards this. Once Founders Editions go on sale, if you're interested in helping Smite 2 be the best it can be, we're going to need y'all to pick that up, hop in these early alpha tests, and help us make it the best game possible. Y'all will be giving us feedback during this super early stage, super early developmental period of Smite 2. And I tell you what, our teams pour over that. It's like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Every time they get feedback and the forums come back, they're like, all right, this is what we need to be looking at. How do we make the game better compared to how it was yesterday even? So super excited about all of that. And I mean, I guess it's worth talking about what's in each of these editions, huh?
Yes, it is.
All right, well, let's get into it. So there are 3 Founders Editions that will be available. First up, Standard Founders Edition. Now, don't let the word standard mislead you. It's anything but. There's a lot of cool stuff right off the bat with that. So first off, you're going to be getting access to the, guaranteed access to those alpha test weekends that we host in the future. Again, we don't got hard dates for y'all right now. Game design is an ebb and flow process, but we're really trying to get there because we're so excited to let y'all in. But it guarantees you access for the platform that you purchase on. This will be available on your favorite platforms. We have Epic Games, we have Steam, we have PlayStation, Xbox. So if you have a preferred platform, pick this up on there. And for the alpha test, these early tests, you will be able to use that platform to get into the tests. Obviously, the game will be available. You can play it on whatever platform you want when the game goes live down the road. But for these alpha tests, just note, whatever platform you purchase the Founders Edition on, whichever one, will be the platform that you're playing on. Just an important note. But that's not all. That's just the first part of it. Secondly, you're going to get all Smite 2 Gods Forever. That's the God Pack.
Yep.
That's the Smite 2 God Pack. That's huge.
Yep. And coming to the idea of should we do a God Pack for Smite 2?
Yeah.
It sounds really obvious, but we talked about this for weeks because if you look at the way every other game does it nowadays, right? It's, we're going to charge you $30 for 5 or 10 characters,
Yeah.
But we looked at all these different options and we were like, man, these all just kind of feel crappy, right?
Yeah.
And the only way that we can make this feel awesome, and Smite 2, our big thing has been strictly better.
Yeah.
How can we make this feel like at least strictly as good and hopefully better than Smite 1? It's like, okay, well, we got to give you all Smite 2 Gods Forever if you buy the base Founders Edition, and it's got to be $30, same price as the Smite 1 Ultimate God Pack.
Yeah.
So $30, you get all Smite 2 Gods Forever. You get access during the alpha weekends, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute, and you get this other stuff too.
Yeah, well, okay, so to finish that out, you'll also get a founder's avatar / badge and title, so you'll get some cool stuff to show off you were one of the founders for Smite 2, and the Smite 2 Cacodemon 2 Ymir skin. So for those of you who are longtime fans of Smite, that was a skin that you got when Smite 1 was in its infancy, and now if you get this first level of the Founders Edition of Smite 2, you'll be getting the Cacodemon 2 Ymir skin as kind of a celebratory upgrade to a fan favorite. And also, now this one's pretty spicy. We've talked about legacy gems a lot. Legacy gems, for those of you who aren't initiated to the knowledge, we're giving you every gem you have ever spent in Smite over your entire Smite career back as legacy gems. Good for 50% off of qualifying purchases in Smite 2, of which there will be plenty. But we were like, what more can we do to tell the community that we love them and to thank them for their support over all these years and moving into the Smite 2 Founders Edition release phase? How about we just double the legacy gems? How about you just get 2 times the amount of legacy gems? And that's crazy.
Yeah, so legacy gems, just a little bit, if you haven't been following along for how they work. So almost every purchase in Smite 2, you're going to be able to pay for 50% of the purchase with legacy gems. Some things you'll be able to pay 100% with legacy gems. So things like skins that we have ported directly from Smite 1 to Smite 2, some classic skins or something like that.
Yeah.
There will be some things that you won't be able to use legacy gems on. The only thing that we've currently identified that wouldn't be eligible would be crossover skins, because those have business agreements to go around with them, and we have to give a percentage of the proceeds to the company. So just unfortunately, that's the way that would work.
Yeah,
but this is you getting the money. One thing that why we are doubling them here is because the way that currency works in Smite 2 is going to change a little bit.
Okay.
And by doubling them, it guarantees you're going to get the exact same purchasing power that you had for your gems in Smite 1. So you know, you're not losing out at all. We're not trying to be sneaky, even though we're changing the way that currency works a little bit in Smite 2.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's double, you know? Like, legacy gems is a really cool thing, and obviously bias standpoint, right? I work for the company, but like objectively speaking, that's a cool thing. I've never seen anything like that. And then they were like, oh yeah, we're just going to double them if people want to buy the Founders Edition. I'm like, okay. That's crazy. 50 plus 50, that's 100%. I don't know, man. It's a lot of mental math I'm not going to break into, but it's super cool.
Yeah.
And that's just the basic Founders.
It's just the basic Founders Edition. And real quick, if I can just,
Please.
One thing about Alpha before we move on.
Dive in.
So this Alpha will be a real Alpha. You know, this is not a marketing Alpha. The game is not done. We have a long way to go. What we're planning and the way we're planning to roll this game out is that we're going to do 1 weekend a month where the game is available to play in Alpha.
Yeah.
Because we really want your feedback, like Dandy was saying. We want to know what's working, what doesn't working. Are you liking some of the changes that we're making? Where are the areas the game still needs to improve? And then we're going to work our asses off for a month to make the game better. And then we're going to open it up for another Alpha weekend.
Yeah.
Right? And the game is going to keep evolving. It's going to keep growing. In the first Alpha weekend, we're currently targeting about 11 gods. So not even a very large roster, because we want you to focus on the gameplay, on the new systems, on the things that are there, so that we can make sure we're building the right game before we finalize a bunch of gods that are going in the wrong direction, for example, right?
Of course.
So we're going to be running a number of these Alpha playtests, and then eventually we'll go into a 24/7 beta period. But if you want guaranteed access to the very first Alpha, the way to do that is to buy one of these Founders Editions.
Yeah.
If you have registered for Alpha access already, don't worry. We're going to be sending everybody Alpha codes eventually, but you may not get a code at the very first weekend, just because we're trying to make sure we don't throw too many people at the game in the first week.
Yeah.
You know, the first week, honestly, there may be some technical issues with the servers, right? There's a lot to work through.
Yeah,
so we're going to roll those codes out gradually. You will get a code. We aren't forgetting about you. But if you want to be sure that you get to play in the first week, that's the way that you can do it.
Yeah. Also, asterisk, to go back to that Cacodemon skin, that's an Alpha. That's a pre-order the Founders Pack during the Alpha phase type thing. That's not going to last forever. We wanted to honor the lore of the Cacodemon Ymir skin. So you're only going to get that if you're getting that Founders Pack early before we get into these before we get out of the Alpha stage. But I mean, like you said, it's not a marketing Alpha. This is a true Alpha. Like we want the veterans to come into these Alpha tests and tell us the granular information, like auto attack desync, and we want the microsecond plays, and we want y'all to tell us, does that feel good or bad? We want the new players to come in who have never played Smite before and just tell us from a high level perspective, are you having fun as a player? Like that is all super valuable, and that's why we want to get the floodgates open as soon as we can to everybody for this very much an Alpha game, is because it's a lot of fun already. We've gotten great feedback from the people we're already working with, but the more the merrier, and we're excited to get people in for that.
Definitely.
So we went over the standard Founders Edition. My voice I went through puberty right there. Now we have 2 other versions to talk about. So next up, the Deluxe Founders Edition. Bear in mind, you will get everything that we had just talked about. So all of that stuff we just talked about included in this one, with the addition of a new cross-gen Night Stalker Neath skin. So this is a cool Neath skin that we're excited. I believe we have the card art for it that we can show off as well. And but that will come with this. It's cross-gen. So you'll be able to play it in Smite 1 and Smite 2. There it is right there. So that's the new Neath skin. She is pretty.
And you will get this as soon as they're available. As soon as you buy the Founders Edition, you'll get it in Smite 1, and then you'll be able to play with it in Smite 2 during the alpha weekends.
Yeah. Ooh, and there's a Smite 2 render for this too as well, because it's going to be in both. So.
Oh, wow, dude.
Yeah.
That skin's sick.
Neath showing up and showing out in Smite 2. So again, as soon as these Founders Editions are available, you'll be able to grab, if you get the Deluxe Edition, you will have the skin right away in Smite 1. You can use it as long as you want, and as soon as Smite 2 hits, you'll be using it there as well.
Yep.
So on top of that, the Deluxe Edition also comes with Ascension passes for the first 11 alpha launch gods. So Ascension passes, new term there.
Yeah.
How about you explain what an Ascension pass is?
Yeah, definitely. So one thing that we talked about during the keynote was that progression in Smite 1 is kind of underwhelming at times, right?
Okay, yeah.
So one of the areas that we've identified as a key area for improvement is God mastery. So everybody loves mastering gods. I love the numbies going up. I love my stars.
Stars.
Every god starred, right here.
Really,
Or
Hermie,
diamond.
you like getting all the... Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm working through the stars right now. Don't worry.
I've seen it. I follow the Twitter threads.
It's a great system, and we don't want to throw that away, right?
Yeah.
You're still going to master your gods. You're still going to level them up. But the problem is, as you're mastering your gods in Smite 1, you don't really get anything. There's not really any incentive to be playing the god or feeling like I'm being rewarded other than seeing my numbers going up and getting the stars.
Yeah.
The only thing that happens is you get the opportunity to purchase 3 mastery skins. And what we found is that most people don't buy those, and they don't really use them. So we wanted to overhaul the way that God Mastery works in Smite 2.
Okay.
So basically, we aren't really ready to talk about all of the details of this today, but I'm just going to give you kind of the overview. As you're mastering your god, you're going to get rewards for free just unlocked at every level. And if you have an Ascension pass, there will be additional rewards that you will unlock at every level. So you'll get extra skins, you'll get, I don't know if I can spoil it yet, but stat trackers.
Ooh.
Pretty exciting. I know something people have wanted for a long time. You'll get a lot of stuff that you maybe would have had to purchase in other areas of Smite, all themed to that god.
Yeah.
So if you like a god, it lets you just get more content for the god by playing it. And the one other thing I'll say that, we're still finalizing the system, but the current plan is that the first couple mastery levels in Smite 2 will probably go a little bit quicker than they go in Smite 1, so that you can get access to more of this free stuff or stuff in the Ascension Pass more quickly.
Yeah.
But it'll take the same amount of time to get to rank 10 and same amount of time to get stars. Like, the idea isn't we're changing that.
Yeah.
It's just the first few levels might go a little quicker so that you feel like you're making more progress and getting value out of it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's cool. I love that kind of thing. I love being able to see the stats, especially for the characters I love the most. I love knowing, and being able to flex, I mean, this is how good I am at this. I don't know about y'all, but so that's really cool. So that's going to be, those are the 2 extra things you're going to get with the Deluxe Edition if you upgrade from that standard. So you'll get Ascension passes for 11 of the Alpha Launch Weekend gods, and then that new skin that we showed you.
Oh, I don't think we mentioned the price. So this, I believe, will be $60. So the base edition's $30.
Got it.
This edition is $60.
Got it. All right. So then that leaves us with 1 edition remaining. We have the Ultimate Founders Edition. And that will have everything we just talked about. So, can go down the 2 levels above, I guess, and you'll get both of those. And then you've come to the bottom. You've come to the final one, the master of them all. And with this one, you're going to get an Ultimate Edition avatar badge title. To showcase, I wanted this game. I was here. I am the ultimate of the Founder Edition owners. And on top of that, you'll get an Ascension Pass for 23, I believe it is, gods?
I believe that's correct.
So that is,
nice.
Yeah, that's a lot. So 23 gods worth of Ascension tracking and all that cool stuff we talked about. And then, and this one's I'm really hyped for this one. We have the first Tier 5 Smite 2 skin will be available with the Ultimate Founders Edition. So, building in the hype with pauses, and it's going to be a Zeus skin. Super. We have the card art here. We can show you. So this is the Fallen Zeus.
This theme is just so cool. Zeus, you know, traditionally has a shield. Shield, be gone. We've got sword, we've got axe, and we've got giant giga fists. So cool.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. And it bears mentioning, first T5 in Smite 2, and that means a couple things. First of all, it means that we wanted to go back to kind of the beginning of the T5s, and that's the evolution system. So you'll see here, you know, there's 3 different versions. We're going back to the classic tier 5 mechanic of watching a skin evolve as you level throughout the game, because it's one of the classic, it's just classic tier 5, you know, it's part of what made them as cool as they are. But what that also means is that we're starting to develop some of this tech in Smite 2. This, you know, tier 5 technology, the skin technology, doesn't exist yet. We haven't made it. We're building Smite 2 from the ground up. So us having created this means that we have made the first ever in the Smite 2 art pipeline tier 5 skin with all new tech, all new everything. And it is a cross-gen skin. We made it in that pipeline we designed for cross-gen skins. So the moment that you purchase the Ultimate Founders Edition of Smite 2, you will be able to play this right away in Smite 1, and it will be waiting for you in Smite 2, looking beautiful just like this.
Yeah, so this is the first level of the skins. So when you start playing, you're going to look like Zaddy Zeus here, ready to go to work. It's kind of like, you know, demonic,
Yeah.
but like there's something beneath the surface there, but he's kind of a dapper dude. Like, I don't know.
He's definitely like got this kind of businessman vibe about him, but he's a little like edgy at the same time. You know what I mean? He's like dabbling in the dark arts, and you know, he might be looking for more power.
Yeah, I super agree. Then you move forward, and that power is starting to come to the surface a little bit. You got the horns, the business uniform is starting to get torn away, like, and he's just buff, dude. Like, Zeus.
That is one buff Zeus.
That is one buff Zeus. Homeboy got the summer bod ready.
Yeah, I think that's like a 12 pack, maybe. I don't know.
12 pack.
It's yeah.
Yeah, and he's got a new weapon too, which I think is really cool. The fact that he's like got all of this like gold, like jewelry and adornments and stuff is really awesome. And you can see kind of like the chains are breaking, and he's slowly gaining all of this power. And you know, Form 2 is pretty cool, but I'm excited to see.
But really,
Form 3.
It's all about Form 3,
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
There it is, dude. The like wing gauntlets are incredible to look at.
The silhouette really like changes quite a bit between each piece, but it still feels like a very magical character throughout the whole thing. And the weapons, I think, is really the biggest deal for me, because like just having these like giant magical fists alongside you, it's so cool.
It completely is. I don't know. I'm lost for words. And
I don't know if you said this out loud, but this is a cross-gen skin. So you'll get this skin in Smite 1 and in Smite 2 if you buy the Ultimate Edition Founders Pack.
Yeah, you'll be able to play it right away the moment that you purchase in Smite 1, and then when Smite 2 hits, you're going to have a tier 5 in the pocket ready to load up and try out. And if you think that these renders from Smite 2 are beautiful, seeing them in live action, seeing the ultimate rain down from above, it just, if y'all have kept up with some of the deep dives we've been doing, y'all will be as hype as I am to see this live in action. Even if he's ulting you and you're being dominant, you know, it's still nice to look at least. So let's go ahead and check this out in game in Smite 1. In Smite 1. Smite 2, y'all have to see for yourself.
Oh, this is the VXG.
That's cool.
Yeah, dude.
A weapon like spiraling around too.
And he's still throwing around his lightning bolts as per usual. And you can see here, when he throws out his shield, it is really just whatever weapon he's got equipped at the time. So Form 1's got the sword, and then of course, calling down the magical lightning storm of purple, epic lightning.
Yeah, I like the like wispy black trail that comes off as the lightning strike. That kind of it sits there for a while. It lingers. It's a really cool after effect.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and the thing about these evolving tier 5s, like I love them. They're kind of nostalgic for me. You know, I remember buying tier 5 Thanatos before I worked here, and you know, the first form is always like, okay, that's cool, but what's next?
Yeah.
Right? So tier 2 or Form 2 here, you know, you got the bigger axe floating there. You know, you're starting to see a little bit more of his power come out. And like, I don't know, it's starting to come to life, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he's like got like the power pose going on here. He's got a little extra like lightning effect going on as well. It's really, really sick.
Yeah, that weapon spiraling around is still as threatening. Went from giant sword to giant axe staff. It's just, and it's so cool that the weapon, like the actual model of what your shield is, changes as
Yeah.
the skin evolves.
I also want to give a huge shout to the audio department, specifically for the 3. You know, doing detonate as Zeus is really cool, but having to snap,
Yeah.
that feels like next level for Zeus players.
That's awesome. And again, it's cool watching the evolution of the skins.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or does that ult look more grand too?
Everything gets a little cooler at every level. Right?
Yeah. Because I don't remember all of the structure around
Yeah.
it for the first one. So
Yeah, I mean, when you're becoming a god, you know, you start to get a little bit more.
there are perks to godhood.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. All right, well we got one more form to see. Let's check out the third and final form.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Okay.
this final form is just, it's so cool. Like, when we were running playtests with this skin, we were like, okay, this is cool, and then he gets to the final form, and everybody's like, holy, like this is cool.
Yeah, like watching the weapon hands track his actual hands is crazy. Like they're extensions of the character model. It's just wild to look at. He has the full power stance. Oh, now it's like a glaive too.
Yeah, he like turns the fist into a glaive. They're actually just like this big transforming piece of metal
Yeah.
that like forms to whatever his need may be, and in that instance, he's throwing it out like a weapon.
Yeah, and I just realized too, it's gone when he does that. You know,
Yeah.
like attention to detail. Oh yeah, and see now there's those additional tiers on top of the ult as well.
Now that's an ult.
Yeah, now that's an ult. That's a proper godly ult right there.
And the snap, dude, I can't get over it. It's so cool. Guys, don't look at explosions.
It really is.
How?
Man, so super incredible to look at. And again, this is the Ultimate Founders Edition. You get that. This will be waiting for you in all of its glory in Smite 2, and will be ready for you to hop in and start using right away, moment you purchase in Smite 1. So, as well as all of the other things we mentioned. So that's alpha access on your on the platform you purchase it on. That's double the legacy gems. You have the Neath skin. You have the Ascension path. It's just so many things.
Kakademe and Amir.
Man, and I don't know. I could talk about this all day, but then we wouldn't have time for the rest of the show, and that would make me sad. So get ready for those. They're coming soon. Again, we don't have a hard date for you right now, but they're on the way, and it's just, we're excited to let y'all in.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. I walk around the office. I talk to people all the time, and everybody's working so hard to like make this the best thing ever. So.
And just a couple quick things before we move on.
Yeah, please.
Just keep in mind, when you're looking for these on the storefronts when they are available, right, you will have to go to Smite 2. You will not, like if you go to the Smite 1 DLC, it won't be there. So you'll go to Smite 2, you'll pre-order these Founders Editions, and then you'll get all the content instantly in Smite 1, and then when it's available in Smite 2.
Yeah.
And don't forget, if you want to take advantage of the Divine Legacy and Legacy Gems and all that, make sure that you are linking in-game in Smite 1 on the platform that you want to play on. It's very important because of the way cross progression works. Basically, like you're going to set a primary platform on Smite 2, and then everything else will be linked to that. So you want to make sure that you're clicking link in-game on the platform that you want to play Smite 2 on as your primary account.
Yeah.
So if you're an Xbox guy, do it on Xbox. If you're a PC guy, do it on PC. It's easy. And I think that's everything that I wanted to talk about. Oh, I don't think we said how much the Ultimate Edition is.
Go for it.
So $99.99. So it's $30, $60, $100 are the 3 different levels of the Founders Pack.
Scaling, yeah, it's a logical scaling. And again, link those accounts. That's important. That's so important. We've been talking about legacy gems. I've been nailing it into y'all every single time. And that's super important because you have so many rewards you can get just by getting those accounts linked up. So please, friends, go and link those accounts. We want you to have all that stuff. So anyway, I'm going to quit blabbing. I just talked about a lot of stuff. How about we get a recap of all of the amazing stuff I just talked about in a quick video reel?
Here at Titan Forge, we've been working really hard on Smite 2, and we're very excited to get the Founders Pack into you guys' hands.
The Founders Packs are your guaranteed way to get in and participate in our Alpha Weekend playtest.
We'll be doing weekend tests following the release of the Founders Pack, and those who purchase the Founders Pack will then have access to all of those Alpha Weekend tests before we go to beta.
This is your chance to get into the battleground early, see what Smite 2 is like, and give us all of your feedback while you play.
There are 3 ways to become a founder: the Founders Edition, the Deluxe Founders Edition, and the Ultimate Founders Edition. Plus, Pre-order any pack before the alpha ends to get the Cacodemon Ymir skin. The Founders Edition pack gives you full game access, all Smite 2 gods forever, a unique Founders avatar and badge, and 2 times Legacy gems. The Deluxe pack includes all of that, plus the cross-gen Nightstalker Neath skin, and Ascension passes for 11 Alpha Launch Weekend gods. And the Ultimate Edition offers all Deluxe Edition features, along with Tier 5 cross-gen The Fallen Zeus skin, Ultimate Edition avatar, badge, and title, and Ascension passes for 23 Alpha gods.
We wanted the Ultimate Founders packs to be really exciting, so we've included Smite 2's first ever Tier 5 skin for Zeus.
This Zeus skin, by the way, is cross-gen, which is pretty dope, and it looks amazing.
It was really important for us to find ways to reward our Smite 1 players. So all Smite players will get Legacy Gems in Smite 2, but Founders Pack purchasers will actually get double their Legacy Gems in Smite 2.
If you buy the Founders Pack before beta releases, you get Cacodemon Ymir again for Smite 2, and it's gonna be amazing!
Another benefit to purchasing the Deluxe and Ultimate Editions is access to the Ascension system. It's a reimagining of the God Mastery system that we had in Smite 1, and we're excited for players to get to master gods in new and exciting ways in both of those systems.
The team has been working so hard, and we can't wait to get it in your hands. We'll see you on the battleground. In Smite 2.
Fuck yeah.
Man, they said all of that really well. I feel like I just finished talking about that, and I was like, man, they said that so well. They could do this. They're amazing. I love everybody I work with. Anyway, welcome back. Super excited. We've talked about Smite 2, but there's still plenty of Smite 1 to go over, and trust me, we got some crazy stuff here today. So I'm joined by a familiar face and a new face on the couch since the last 5 minutes, and that's Lermy and Chaos. So, hello, welcome aboard, Chaos. Yeah. So, y'all excited to talk about some stuff here in a minute?
Dude, unbelievably excited. I've been excited for weeks. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I've been, every time you tweeted about it, I was like, I know. I can't.
I was on vacation. I was thinking about it. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's hard to not when you're just so excited about everything coming towards the game.
Oh, I am excited to give y'all the chance to talk about it, but we have a few more things to go through. I know y'all are gonna get sick of me talking. But let's do some news real quick. So y'all got all the big news right up front. We have some other really cool stuff in the works as well. You might have remembered me talking about the Content Creator Cup. So that will be continuing. It's still going. Actually, signups for NA are going through tomorrow, and we have some matches this weekend. So if you're interested, make sure you're hitting those signups. Grab your community, get in here, and strut your Smite. Because we have opportunities for people to do so, and we're excited for y'all to come in this weekend and watch NA. EU, don't worry, we haven't forgot about y'all. Signups are going strong for y'all as well, and your matches will be coming next weekend. So still got some time if you're over on the EU side of things to get brought in, but it's been going strong. It's been fun to see everybody show up and show off, and we hope that y'all are as excited as we have been and continue to come in and just put on some really good matches. So super cool stuff there. But now we're diving into some of the content of Smite 1's update. So first up, we have a calendar celebration event that we're excited to talk about. So y'all should be familiar with these if you're longtime Smite fans, but if not, essentially it's just a big old celebration event. It's a bunch of free stuff for y'all from us. There will be a big old calendar when you log in on the event page, and every single day that you play Smite, you'll earn a free reward. Now be warned, that award is only available on the day that it is shown. You log in, it says this is today's reward. That's it. That's for that day. So make sure you earn it and log in tomorrow to earn the next one. Because if you earn 6 of these, you're going to get a free skin, the embalmed Anubis skin. We have the card art right here for you.
Ooh, bro, this is a nice recolor for Anubis. I love the purple and the teal going on. I think it's a really good combo of colors, you might say.
Yeah, I like where they, when you apply like a bright palette to a character that otherwise has a dark palette, or even do the inverse. I really liked seeing this on Anubis.
Yeah, it brings out some aspects that didn't pop in the original. Oh, okay.
And he's really bright.
He's really bright.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a mastery skin almost, with how I don't know, glowy and bright it is. Now something crazy about this and uncharacteristic. This is actually a rare exception to a system. Is the cross-gen system. This is a cross-gen skin. It's a free cross-gen skin.
Dude.
So if you earn 6 of those rewards, then you'll get this this wonderful skin for free in Smite 1 and Smite 2. And we have a Smite 2 render here to show you that we ain't fooling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Dude,
definition of the muscles in Smite 2 is nuts.
It is very incredible. Just
is.
I talked about it a lot the last time that we talked about skins in Smite 2, but you really can just tell the difference in quality between the textures. I mean, the materials, they look great. They look realistic.
They
It's
do.
crazy.
I think the colors too pop so much more in Smite 2. It's really nice to see.
I agree. So again, this event is going to be dropping with 11.3, which is the update coming out next Tuesday. Make sure that you're logging in and playing that daily game. It's my injured day. Like I just had dinner. I'm gonna go to bed in 10 minutes, but I got time for
One
an
game of
arena.
Smite, just one.
Yeah, I got some
That's all I gotta
Smite in
do.
me, and you'll get free rewards for doing it. So make sure you check that out. So from there, we got some more skins we're going to talk about, starting with the Death Squad chest. So it's going to be a new chest coming out with a Loki skin, and we have Slasher Loki. Now, I like this one a lot. This one's
Oh,
good Loki
Oh.
horror skin, yeah.
I think this one's really sick. I love light horror like vibes, and this is definitely selling it to me.
yeah, you could say that.
You can say that. The mouthless mask thing is, I don't know what particular genre of horror that falls under, but I'm there for it every time.
Yeah, he's creepy, but cool.
But
I'm trying to find the right words. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Like Halloween-esque.
Yeah.
horror, yeah.
Anybody carrying bloody tools with a pair of pliers strapped to their chest? that's
It's definitely a little creepy.
yeah, plier like
In a neat way.
with a big blade. I kind of understand what's coming, right? But when you
Oh.
have pliers,
You know what's cool about this? He's got 2 different weapons. That's really sick.
that is actually really cool. He's got like the bone saw and then the big old knife too,
That's awesome.
and kind of business formal too. Like
He's got a tie.
yeah, when you're killing your enemies, that's a big day for them. You want to dress for the occasion. So this, like most other skins, I love getting to say this, is a cross-gen skin. So best believe if you have this skin, it will be waiting for you at the dawn of Smite 2. And here's the Smite 2 render to show you.
Oh.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, the dirty, he has been causing some mayhem to other people aesthetic of the outfit. Just the way the materials look in Smite 2 highlights it so well.
Yeah, I think the detail in the outfit and the textures, as like Lermy was saying from the prior skin, it just looks so good in Smite 2.
I even think you can really see here the subtle adjustments to the posing and as we go actually into playing Loki in the game, I'm sure the animations as well are gonna look awesome with this.
Yeah.
I just think Smite 2 is so cool.
It is
Such a nice upgrade.
It is so cool. I'm never gonna get sick of saying that. So that does it for the Death Squad chest. And now we're going to an event that y'all should know and love, the Immortal Honor event. For those of you who have clicked the infamous buy all button, you'll just be getting these. The things we're about to show off, you'll have them. But if not, then maybe these will be the things to convince you that it's worth it, or at least to buy the chapter or the individual skins. Up to you. So first up, we have Thanatos, Cosmic Executioner Thanatos.
Dude, I love all of the kind of abstract shapes going on here. He's kind of like a space guy, but he's kind of in that same vein as the Infinite skins almost, where they have parts missing, but it makes sense somehow.
They're held together by cosmic energy. And there's a Smite 2 render for this one as well, because these are cross-gen. Ooh, he's got crystals and stuff too.
And you can really tell the differences in each piece of Thanatos here between the metals and you said the crystals and all of the different varieties of space goodness going on there. I think it's really cool.
Or space badness, depending on which.
Oh yeah, well I guess he's Thanatos, right? So
that's true. So that is the first of the 2 skins available. The second is going to be Bionic Overlord Odin. So our boy Odin getting a little bit of and we get to talk about Odin later too.
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah, Odin has some changes coming up. Ooh, okay, that's cool.
I love this art.
The horns.
Yeah, I really think the double space theme we have going on here is pretty cool. We got one that's a little bit more ethereal, and then Odin's definitely just kind of this tough guy.
Yeah.
He's gonna conquer some planets, take over the world, any of those things on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, one is deep and in the heart of space itself, or is made of the heart of space. And this one came from a planet, but is taking space all for himself. So, and cool. We have the turnaround for this one. Awesome.
Oh,
So nice seeing it.
He's a
in game.
jetpack.
bro, the weapon?
Yeah, I love the details on the spear.
I love the little plasma bit going on at the end there. It's
Oh, yeah,
very,
it's flickering.
It's very detailed. I love that.
The red cape around the the hood is really cool too. It's a
Yeah.
really nice touch.
I couldn't agree more. And again, like everything, it's a cross-gen skin. Not everything, like most things. It's a cross-gen skin, and we have the Smite 2 render we're here to show you.
I was talking about it in Smite 1. I have to say, it's cooler in Smite 2.
See, that's like, it's crazy. There are so many amazing skins in Smite 1 as it stands. And like our team has been creating all of these wild and amazing skins for years. And they're still doing it, but now they're working in 2 systems at the same time and making stuff that's somehow amazing in one and then like amazing plus ultra limited edition. And like, it's just, it's amazing.
It's incredible stuff.
It is incredible stuff.
It's awesome.
So those are the 2 skins you can look forward to in the Immortal Honor event. And again, this is just Immortal Honor is all Smite 2 skins. So not only are the skins verifying gods that will be in Smite 1 when it goes on release, haha, but it's also it's just a chance for you to own some cool skins in Smite 1 and to have those skins sitting there waiting in Smite 2 when it's time to dive in and start playing on Battleground 2 Electric Boogaloo. So check it out. Again, there's 3 ways to buy. You can hit the buy all and just get everything for the rest of the year because it is 2 skins every update for the rest of the year. So you're just going to be, it's 48 skins if you include, Smite 1 and Smite 2. That's a lot. 24 in Smite 1, 24 in Smite 2. Or buy in chapters or buy individually. Up to you if you feel like it. We appreciate the support and we hope you love the skins. And we have one more little thing that I want to remind you of, and that's legacy gems. I know I've already harped on this a few times because we started off with Smite 2, but we're still counting. You want to double your gems? We're still counting. We're going to double. If you were like, you know what? I like Odin. I'm going to buy all on that Immortal Honor event. We're counting. We're gonna take those, and if you buy a Founders Edition, we're gonna double it and give them back to you as legacy gems. I'm just saying, like, it's kind of cool. So make sure you check that out. So now we've talked about a lot of cool stuff. We've seen some cool cosmetics. Let's get into some of the balancey stuff.
Oh yeah.
I've talked too
I'm
much.
so ready.
I need y'all to dive into it. So first we have some game mode stuff to talk about. Kicking it off with just a few little ranked announcements.
Yeah. So Newt is now going to be available in ranked. Oh my
Newt
gosh,
in
it's
ranked?
time.
It's time. All right.
Very excited to see how she's going to perform there. She's been doing actually very average. Very
Really?
average, which has been a little surprising considering she's a hunter, but I think
Yeah.
that in general it's been really nice to see all of the amazing reactions around Newt getting played. It's been just amazing to see everyone
Yeah.
enjoying hearing the lore lady come across on the battlefield.
It's been
but,
so cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what her stats look like. I think it's really gonna be a very interesting turn of events coming up.
I agree. I super agree. And there's also going to be a soft reset, I think. it
Yes,
says,
yes,
so.
exactly. Every other patch we will have a soft reset.
Oh, there we go. You heard it here first, or maybe you already knew. Either way. Next up, Joust. Just a little pre-match change.
Yeah, so we're hearing a lot of feedback about Joust, especially switching back to the Jade Corruption map.
Yeah.
That it was getting a little bit difficult to get buffs on time and really make your selections, so we wanted to add just a bit of extra time there at the beginning to make sure that you're feeling okay getting to your buffs and getting set up and all of that good stuff.
Cool. Nothing wrong with just a little more planning time.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're moving into Duel. And Duel, we've been touching on Duel every update now because we got bans, we got unbans. So, I mean, how about the now unbanned gods?
Yeah, so previously we've been doing kind of performance-based bans. This is our first kind of thematic ban that you'll see, and we're going to try, a couple new things. We've been talking with Duel content creators and seeing what they're interested in.
Yeah.
And, this, performance-based banning has been fun, it's been cool, but we want to try something a little bit different. And this is going to be kind of old gods out is the theme.
Really?
So every
Okay.
god during Smite 1's Alpha and Beta is now banned in Duel. So all of the new gods are kind of around to play, and there's a bunch of classic gods that are really strong in Duel. I'm thinking Kali, Bakasura, Uller, all of these gods are gonna be banned for this patch. But we've got another fun theme coming up in the future, so definitely check this one out. We're really interested to see in just in terms of what a bigger ban pool looks like on the mode as well. And this certainly is a bigger pool. I think in total it's
38 gods.
Yep, no, it's bigger than that because it's still including ones that are
You're right.
previously banned as
You're
well. So in
right.
total, it's close to 50 gods that are banned.
It's 38
in
new
Duel.
ones.
And
Yeah,
Alright.
so it's
especially
38
with
new ones.
those themes.
Yeah, especially with the themes. And we're interested to hear what you guys think too. If you guys have a cool theme that you want us to do for Duel, let us know. And we'll have a discussion about it.
It's like challenge runs for Duel. I
It kind of, it's pretty cool. It's pretty
Batch
fun.
by batch
I've been
challenge
enjoying it a lot.
All right, well, cool. So next up, Conquest, and we have a whole lot of one change for Conquest to talk about. Jungle Shop. Jungle Shop's just getting a little tweak.
Yeah, this is just a small quality of life change. We heard some discussion about colorblind players having a bit of an issue seeing the differences between the gold and the purple shop, so I wanted to push it a little bit closer to blue. It's a little bit more blue now, and it's going to change the minimap icon as well, so hopefully it's going to be easier for our colorblind players to be able to see that difference, and for everybody else, it's just going to be a slight huge shift a little bit more towards blue.
That's one of those changes that's just cool. That's cool. Thank you for the feedback, and we hope that it helps. So next up, some of y'all might have seen this and figured it out already, but we got some Domination to talk about,
yeah.
huh? So first of all, I mean, Domination's coming back, at least for a little while anyway. So talk about where'd that idea come from?
Yeah, so Domination's a very, very classic mode,
It
right?
is.
It's
Very
pretty
classic.
old, and you know what? We felt like it was a little dated. We've done a pretty big update to how scoring and just in general how this mode plays.
Okay.
And so we're very interested to hear what you guys think about this, and certainly vote by your plays as well. If you like Domination and you like these changes, let us know and keep playing it, and we'll take the data from there. But with that being said, let's actually dive into those changes. And the first thing that we should talk about is the scoring system and how that's changing.
Yeah, so we did a bunch of internal playtests when we brought Domination back, and we were trying to see like, okay, how does this mode feel? What are kind of maybe some of the pain points? And one of the things we noticed is that the scoring was actually controlled by the minions going into the portals, right? And this is something that I think for most people, when you play kind of Domination game mode, you're expecting that the scoring's tied to actually like controlling, the point.
Yeah.
And so we immediately were like, hey, why don't we just shift the scoring away from the minions going into the portal back to the points actually being captured.
Yeah.
And the moment we tried that, the mode started to feel like it all of a sudden was making a lot more sense. People who had never tried the mode before got into it, and they're like, oh, okay, this is clear to me now what I should expect out of the scoring system.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we kind of moved I think a different benefit to the minions going in. So there's still a reason to kind of have those minions push into the portal, but it doesn't directly affect the scoring like it was before.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's really cool. So there are some changes to the capture points themselves then as well, right?
Yes. So essentially, when you capture a point, you will be subtracting 1 ticket from the enemy team's score. So both teams start at like full score, and then by you capturing a point, you are taking down the enemy's score, and you inevitably win the game whenever the enemy's score reaches 0. So that's the TLDR on that. It's every 3 seconds, depending on how many points that you have. But there's also a special incentive for capturing all 3 points, where if you do, you get extra points that you take away from the enemy's score. So if you are being able to get all 3 of those points, we're calling it a total domination. It's
Awesome. I love
it's
that.
going to be extra good for your team. So it's going to encourage people to not just settle for 2. You do want to go for 3 points if you can, but it is certainly challenging to do so.
Awesome. And I'm seeing something about like a sand guardian in here. Like, what's going on with that?
Yeah, we have a couple more small scoring things to talk about, and then we'll move on to that. But first,
I'm trying to jump the gun. I'm excited.
Yeah, first, we wanted to also kind of encourage it to be like more of a fighting mode, right? Because one thing that was kind of confusing about this mode is that like you're fighting a lot in the points, but it doesn't really feel like it's doing that much. Like, what are you really gaining from fighting? So you are actually going to be gaining tickets now when you get kills on the enemy. So teams that are, getting kills are going to be decreasing enemies' tickets. So a little bit less PvE, a little bit more PvP. We're hoping that really encourages people to get going.
And then especially for games where, let's say, like maybe you're a little bit too far behind and they're starting to get these sort of kill streaks, now we're actually going to reward you for getting shutdowns a little bit more aggressively, right? So I think instead of just 2 tickets, every time you get those kill shutdowns, actually subtract 5 instead.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So there's some comeback, like if you're getting beat down, but you finally got that item, you feel like your build's online, you start catching, you have a chance to catch up. You're not just being beat down the whole match. That's really cool. I like that a lot.
Exactly. And then there's, of course, the alternate strategy of wanting to push minions into their goals, which is, what previously would be earning you tickets. Now it's earning you global golden XP. So you are helping your team by pushing minions in. It's not necessarily going to win you the game, considering you're not getting tickets for it. But it is a nice thing to do in terms of getting yourself that little bit of extra farm that you need to be getting.
It'll give you that edge to try to get the lead or bring it back. Okay, that's cool. And I'm just a fan of PvP modes anyway. As an arena player for a lot of the time, like I want to get in and fight. So I'm super excited about that.
Yep.
All right, so now do we get to talk about Sand Guardians?
Yeah, now we can talk about Sand Guardians.
Okay, I was excited. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're really cool NPCs, and so we wanted to also change a bit of how capturing the Sand Guardians and holding out those points really works. And so the Sand Guardians are still going to be, this neutral objective, but once you actually kill a Sand Guardian, no matter who's sided on, it becomes neutral again. So once you are done, previously it could only be captured by the enemy team if they had taken it from you, or if you took it from them, it's yours. Now that's not the case anymore. It goes back to being completely neutral, and anyone can recap it again. So think of it kind of like the beacon in Conquest a little bit, where you're able to kind of take it or take it back, no matter who is standing on it at the time.
Yeah, I think we had a lot of positive reception with the beacon, especially because, as multiple different teams are on it, and the kind of interesting engagement points that get made from how the bar fills and stuff like that. We wanted to take those rules that we thought worked so well for that beacon point, kind of move them into the domination map, and it really like helped alleviate some of the issues with fighting over those points and those sand guardians.
Yeah, makes a lot. Hey, as a longtime beacon stand myself, I love having neutral objectives to fight over. It gives you an obvious, right? Hey, I know what I am. So we have a few more, a little more mechanical things to talk about. So speed orbs are now present in Domination, yeah?
Yeah, this one's like a fun one. This was kind of looking at the map and saying, what are the things that players want to do the most? And they really want to like get out of base and kind of like get into the action, right? And we kind of had this feedback that some of the camps and stuff might have taken you a little bit out of that sort of combat phase and taken you a little bit away from like what's making the game mode sort of fun.
The detour.
Yeah, exactly. And we thought, you know what, why don't we maybe add something that kind of boosts you around the map just a little bit. They're very like slight speed boosts for a short amount of time that can get you to the point, that can get you into the action. And we actually set them up kind of on the map to be like a circuit where you can kind of go from speed order to speed.
Okay, that's cool.
So we originally had the idea, and we weren't 100% sure on how it was going to work, but the moment we put it in, it just felt so good.
Instantly in that test, we were like, we need to do this.
Yeah, this felt great.
Like playing a racing game and hitting one of those little speed stripes, like
it really does feel like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's the most enjoyable part of a racing game is being able to like weave through all the different speeds. So I love that. So next up, looks like just a pass on the collision on the map, just making sure that
this one
fits the time.
This one's a bit minor. It's mostly there were some assets that might have been like doubling up in certain places or certain little areas where normally you'd have like a smooth wall, and instead of it being a smooth wall, it was kind of like coming out more of like a zigzag pattern. And we felt like for people that want to fight around corners and maybe want to hug walls and stuff, it just by cleaning up some of these collision things, it helped make it feel a bit more fluid, a bit more.
And this is an OG map at its core, right?
Yeah.
So revamping it can only do so much. You got to go back and clean up the core. Collision of it eventually at some point, and so we've done that, and it feels really nice. I will not lie to you. The corners feel great.
Awesome. So the last little bit here is just some general balance changes, just more of that. It's been a while since the mode has been around. Some of the way that core Smite has changed, and these are, I guess, to bring it up to speed a little bit.
Yeah, I know for the gold spooling, a big part of that was just after all these playtests and stuff, we wanted to make sure, hey, when you're building around your 6th item or the pacing of the game, does it feel like it can still remain competitive at a certain point, right? Can teams go back and forth? Does it feel like you're getting to final build, too fast? Does it feel like getting too slow? And we found that 7 felt like a really good number that fit the map and fit kind of like the new mechanics that we added in.
Cool. Rock and roll. Well, again, excited to have this game mode come back. It's going to be a lot of fun, and more excited than anything to hear what y'all think about it. I mean, it's a classic, right? And we're hoping that everybody's going to be able to dive back in, or maybe if you weren't around during its first, during when it was still around, maybe you get to dive in for the first time, bring your friends, and discover a new game mode. So either way, we'll be looking for y'all's feedback, and we're just excited to see it go out, I think. So they did a lot of amazing work on it, so it's been fun. So now we're into items. We have some items to talk about up next, and I mean, y'all just want to dive right into it then?
Yeah, let's get going.
Let's do it. All right, so Envenomed Executioner, the EE is up first.
Yeah, so we've heard about this item. It made its debut in 11.1, and it was very, very popular. We are really happy to see people being flexible with when they are picking up the actual upgrade to it, because we wanted to make sure one of the main goals for this glyph was to ensure that players felt like they had options to go into earlier anti-heal for Hunters specifically. And so goal accomplished. We did it. Awesome.
I think it did very well.
Yeah, the other thing that came up that was a little bit problematic was that it was applying that on one basic attack right away, which is very, very strong, considering that Hunters who are usually buying this item are able to do that from a range without really being at much risk themselves. So we wanted to kind of break this up and make it a little bit more thematic. And so Executioner has stacks. Now the stacks as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Straightforward. I like that. Cool. So next up, we're maneuvering on the mannequins, both the scepter and the mace. It looks like.
Yeah, this one was a good quality of life one. I think the other jungle starter, I think it's Bumba's, right? You're usually anytime you kill a camp, you're getting that heal kind of without any friction. But the issue that we kind of noticed with this one is you have to have the burn applied to the camp in order to get the heal. And there's some cases where I think, let's say you have an ability that one-shots the camp or something like that, you weren't getting the heal. And it felt more inconsistent than it felt thematic. So we felt like kind of removing that restriction, making the item more consistent across the board helped kind of alleviate that pressure.
Yeah, and the numbers and the way that this is tuned is still less than Bumba's. You are still not getting the consistent healing like you would if you went Eye of the Jungle. So this starter does still provide very likely the least sustain out of the three. But at least it'll be a little bit more consistent now. So we're hoping that, when you expect to get your heals, you're getting your heals and you're not, dying a jungle kill. That would suck.
That would suck. It's happened before. Never a good feeling. So we have a few shards to talk about next up, specifically the wing shard for the first of them.
So again, going back to 11.1 a little bit, we put in passive shards.
We did.
And they were very popular, which, is awesome to see that people are trying out the shiny new thing, but also we wanted to make sure that our older active shards were not getting left behind in the dust. So one big thing that we wanted to do was to give people the ability to have these kind of power spikes or like power plays a little bit more frequently. So 120 seconds, once every 2 minutes, that just wasn't cutting it when the other shards were up kind of all the time. Essentially. So we wanted to move both Wing Shard, which you're seeing here, and Vision Shard, which is the next one, which is going to be a pretty exciting one, from 120 to 90 seconds. So we hope that it gives a little bit more potential to these shards, and I can't wait to see.
Yeah, all of you Vision lovers out there, come on, it's 90 seconds. You got more time. You can spy those critical spots a little easier. So next up, the Soul Eater.
I feel like I'm coming back to 11.1 a lot. It's almost like we did a lot of changes in that patch.
It's almost like it was a really big update. It's weird. Anyway.
We did a very big lifesteal update in 11.1.
It was a lot.
And we were excited to see that a lot of lifesteal items were still seeing like pretty solid changes in terms of like how they felt to play into gods or into lanes and like what that dichotomy kind of looked like. But one item that has been just missing from this whole equation has been Soul Eater. So one thing that we wanted to focus around was to make this very succinctly kind of this early game item that you can get. That's still, the price is reasonable. It is higher than it was before, and we're not changing the healing because the healing is the part that kind of makes it. I'm gonna struggle to find a word other than annoying right now, but it can be a little bit difficult to play around in like solo lane when it comes to we're just healing the whole time. We're not really fighting each other.
Healthy.
So instead of that, we just want to make you stronger in terms of your lane pressure, in terms of the way that you fight people, and hopefully this will give you a nice power spike to play around when you're picking up Soul Eater.
Cool. So Book of Thoth looks like it was sent back to the editors. Couple revisions came back to us. What happened?
Yes.
You want to go?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna preamble
very
this. I'm
okay,
sorry. There's a lot of changes in this next section because it's gonna involve a lot of things. And the first thing you're seeing on the screen here is the Book of Thoth nerf. So I want to preface this by saying this is the Mage big change that we've been kind of waiting for. I know that we've been seeing a lot of ability hunters in mid. And that has not been very delightful for our mid lane mains. So I want to make sure that we are kind of shifting the balance here. So you're seeing Book of Thoth get nerfed because this is kind of the mainstay. When you're playing a mage, you get Book of Thoth. That's kind of the deal. But this is the only nerf, and we are instead pulling this power from Book of Thoth to kind of really try to force a bit of a shift here in terms of Book of Thoth's not going to be the mainstay that it was. Many other items are getting nice additional quality of life or power or whatever it might be buffs, and we've got a big list of those.
We got a big list. It's just time to work down it. So Enchanted Spear is next down on the list.
Yeah, so Enchanted Spear is the tier 2 of the flat pens, and so essentially what we're doing here is giving it a little bit better of a power spike towards the beginning of the game, and not specifically power, but penetration is important in terms of being able to clear camps and things like that do have moderately high magical protections in certain instances, and this will also help against players as well.
It certainly will. So moving past that, we have the Spear of Desolation. Good old Deso.
So I guess the next couple changes here are just going to be some power, as we talked about
before.
If
you want to rattle through them, let's do it.
11.1 had the change to the class passes, which took away a little bit of power at the beginning of the game. Flat pen, you obviously want to kind of put towards the beginning of your build, so a little bit more power at the beginning, put power back into that flat pen.
Makes sense. So, and that looks like it's following suit for Spear of Desolation, Divine Ruins that way, and then we get into more of that penetration for Cursed Orb, though.
Yes, this one's exciting.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a big shift here. Cursed Orb is the tier 2 for Doom Orb.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when it comes to the theming of this item, it's been a bit back and forth, right? There was a time where it was really high power. I know back in the metas when even you were playing the SPL, this is a very, very popular first item. And so we're thinking, if it's a very popular first item because of the passive, why does it have percent pen? Let's just lean into it being, this early game item. And so we're changing the pen from percent to flat to really emphasize that you have more flat pen options.
Yeah.
And you can go this one in the beginning of the game and not feel too bad about it.
Cool. I mean, like you said, a crazy change. That's cool. And it evolves kind of into Do More in that way then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting to kind of reintroduce that build diversity. Again, especially because, as we said at the start, right, Book of Thoth kind of getting that shift. If that was mostly that kind of first item that people are getting, this really helps, bring in another first item and a couple other first items from that list.
Yeah, a little more build diversity. Like, it just, like you said, broadening the horizons of your potential builds. So it looks like we're kind of diving into just a sweep of magical power increases. So.
Yes.
Rod of Tahuti and its glyphs, more power.
Yep, this is kind of known more like as an end cap or like towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
But because, mages were still also losing power over their levels, we wanted to make sure that we were hitting kind of all aspects of their build. It was some number of power buffs. So yeah, you'll see Rod of Tahuti is kind of on the other end of things, but we've got more items as well.
This is usually an item you're not really building until 4th or 5th slot, right? So it really is targeting that sort of late game.
Yeah, which is a good contrast to the Do More, but what we just talked about, like diversifying the early game, giving more potential power to the end game. It really is kind of a sweeping change, which is cool. So from Rod of Tahuti, Charon's Coin.
Yeah, kind of same idea. This is more of like a mid-game item just because you do want to stack it up if you can. You're still happy that it's a 20% pen item, so not bad to have in the mid-game, but stacking it is also really nice. So a little bit more mid-game oriented.
A little more mid-game. Next up, Soul Gem.
It's been a minute since we've been seeing some Soul Gems.
It has.
So even with the lifesteal changes, this one has still been kind of under-purchased, underperforming, so it deserves a power buff.
It does, and that it will get. We have Spear of Mages. Up next, more power.
Yep, more power.
More
kind
power.
Of same deal. This is another mid-game item.
We sharpened the spear. We put more magic into it. It's good to go.
Yep.
Demonic Grip up next.
Yeah, and don't worry, you magical ADC fiends. You've got your help as well. A little bit of extra power here on Demonic Grip. Again, another mid-game item to really kind of keep that power train going.
All right, and so we're ending on something.
Oh, this one's exciting.
A little different. I was about to say this one deserves a little more preface. We've moved past Power Nation, and now we're into. This one's I don't know. I'm hyped for this one. Yeah. So Sphinx's Bauble getting a change, and what is that change?
Yeah, so we're actually removing the protection healing self debuff. I actually remember being in this conversation. We were kind of chatting about what are the reasons that people aren't picking up this item, because we think it's really interesting the way that
it is. It's one of those,
stuff like that.
It's one of those that changes a core mechanic of the game. Like
exactly,
it's crazy.
But what we noticed, and I think we found it a little bit with Griffin Wing, right, which was that sort of like detriment or that drawback really makes players not want to pick this up, and it already stat wise is not the most efficient to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like getting a double negative when it has a drawback plus that stat inefficiency. So we figured at this point it might be more interesting of a pickup if we just remove that drawback.
Yes, exactly. And that also opens it up to being a little bit more flexible too. When we were seeing this item, a lot of times it was on supports. And again, it's not a stat efficient item for supports by any means, but could pick it up. It's not, debuffing your procs anymore. It's not, reducing your healing. So we're excited to see kind of what the potential of this item has. We still think it will still be under purchase just because it's so niche.
It is pretty niche.
But it's fun. It's fun. So we want to get a little bit more excited about trying all of these new like fun things, and we're hoping that Sphinx's Bauble maybe gets a little bit of play.
Yeah, where if y'all pop off and are like Sphinx's Bauble is where it's at, and here's why, and we just somehow missed it, like that'll be cool. Horrifying probably, but y'all will figure it out. Y'all always do. So, well, awesome. That does it for item balance. Now there's a lot of really cool balance still to come. But we're gonna dabble back out into some cool cosmetics with this patch's cross-gen pass, the Onslayer cross-gen pass. So I've talked about it. Last year we had the bigger, longer battle passes, but this year, the year 11, the Road to Smite 2, we're in the cross-gen pass area, and the cross-gen passes have skins that are cross-gen. It's that simple. So there's going to be one per patch, and each of these is going to have 2 skins usually, and a sprinkling of other cool cosmetics that you can earn throughout the patch that will be ready for you in Smite 2. So I guess the best way to do it is to just dive in and talk about the 2 skins, starting with Wandering Blade King Arthur, which is the first of the 2.
Oh, dude, I love this card art.
Yeah, I absolutely love this color scheme. I love like white and reds and that shoulder piece. It's such a nice touch.
Yeah, he's got a really cool look to him. I mean, I'm just like, I love the King Arthur skin. I love King Arthur, but can I just shout out our incredible art team? Like, this piece is incredible.
It is. Point yourself out in the picture. That's me on the right. I got the cool round hat. So, but I absolutely love it. I love this. It's a completely outside of, because, King Arthur, the knight aesthetic.
I love the clouds.
Bro. The details in this skin are incredible.
Yeah.
Can I just say that?
It's just, I love the pauldron. It's got this the Oni face.
Also the skin textures.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely looks like he's seen a couple battles in his time.
He definitely has. And again, it's just such a cool reimagining of King Arthur. And I'm gonna say that thing I love to say. It's cross-gen. Let's check out the Smite 2 render.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That looks so cool. I mean, it's just, it's able to be a little sharper than Smite 1 because it's on a newer platform. So you just see the definition of things so much more clearly.
Yeah, that's a good term for it, definition. I just really love to see again the difference in materials, and you can really feel like the depths of shadow. Like you can tell like the stance this guy in is really, really solid.
Yeah. All right, well, I could stare at this for another 45 minutes, but we have things to move on to. Specifically, the second skin in this event, the Dark Supreme Nuwa skin.
Oh, hello.
Hello, Nuwa.
Hello.
Change of pace a little bit.
I love this theme. Can I just say?
Yeah.
She's like a super spooky elf lady. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I hadn't even looked at the ears, and I hadn't picked up on that. I was distracted by the horns and also the guys in the background.
Yeah, those are her minions, I presume.
You know what? You are probably right about that. One of the things I love about Nuwa skins is how with every one, like the floating crystals take on a different shape.
Oh.
Too.
Yep.
So, because these ones are they're like crystal torches almost,
Yeah.
So that's just
That's a good point.
that's just a me thing. It's just with every Nuwa skin, I'm like, but what are the crystals? So let's check out what this skin looks like in Smite 2.
Ooh.
The textures, again, I keep saying it, but it keeps being true. Gosh dang it, our art team's crazy.
That's true. Honestly, like if you ever see them on Twitter or in the world at an SWC, I don't think you can thank them enough for all the incredible work they do. So shout out to them, especially because again, we're making skins that can jump a 10-year generational gap from one game to another. Like I don't even understand how that works, and I work at the company. I work around these people, and I'm like, how do you make skins that can exist in two places at once? It's magic. So it's godly work, you could say. But
Dang.
anyway, now that I've said that, that will be the next cross-gen pass, Onslayer. It will be available next Tuesday when the patch comes out.
Crazy.
So look out for that. Earn those skins so that they will be waiting for you in Smite 2. So now we're back into balance land, right? And we're gonna do a little balance. We have one more non-balance and then some more balance. So we got a little back and forth left to go. But this balance is framed a little differently. Y'all must have set up your computers in a kitchen, because y'all just been cooking for a while now.
Nonstop,
Yeah,
nonstop.
I've been trying to get caught up. Obviously, I don't know nearly as much. Like y'all are the brains behind this, so I've just been staring outside the window, looking in, whoa, there, whoa. So let's just get right into it. So first off, we have a little bit of standard god balance,
Yeah.
right?
So to kind of preface where we're at right now, we have got 3 different sections of balance coming up. And so this first section is going to be the buffs that you're typically used to seeing. These are just your standard underperforming characters for some reasons or another. And so Kronos is our first one up on our list. And again, we talked a little bit earlier with the items that mages just in general were performing not very great, but Kronos was the standout compared to his mage ADC brethren in terms
extra
of
underperforming,
he was extra underperforming. So just a small buff to stop time, especially in the early game, which is where Kronos tends to be the weakest.
Yeah.
It's part of his clear, but the problem is that he has got the really quick repetitive clear in his one, but stop time is kind of the tool that he uses to keep himself alive and clear, and being able to have a little bit better access to that is just going to help him survive through the early game.
Fair enough. Well, as somebody who doesn't know how to play Kronos and can't counterplay him, I hate it. Let's move on to Serket.
Serket up next, and you would think that Serket would have been doing pretty well considering just how strong crit was recently,
Yeah.
but especially because crit has been nerfed, and that's a lot of Serket's thing, she's not been doing too hot. So we want to kind of give her a little bit of extra help in terms of getting the fight started, because she is very single target. That's a lot of what Serket does, is that she runs one person down and can blow them up.
Yeah.
But if she's not getting the fight started, she's not doing a whole lot. So we want to let her have a little bit more opportunity to get those fights started and get rolling.
Okay, makes a lot of sense for a character. So Hell is next on the list.
Yes, and again with the mages, we were talking a little
Again
bit,
with
being a little bit tough for poor Hel. You know, she was having a really tough time in lane, especially. So we wanted to make sure that when she's getting through to this late game potential that she really should be having, it's feeling strong. And so we were thinking, you know, with Hinder specifically, being able to pull off protections is always nice, but we want to give her a little bit more onus in terms of carry versus carry fights because you know she is good at spamming, but when she's fighting enemies, you know, she's a little bit sprinkled in with the utility as well. So this is not only helping her, it's helping maybe her support, or if she's got a magical jungler like Maman or maybe Ao Kuang, going to be able to shred those squishies a little bit faster, which will be very nice.
And I like this sort of buff because you still have to like hit the ability right on targets before you follow up. So there's still kind of that like thought process behind, you know, when do I use this and how do I use this?
Yeah.
So I think it's a really nice shift to kind of do this to help her out.
Yeah, I agree. So not exactly a mage unless you are a Guan Unicorn player, I guess, but we have Guan Yu next.
Yeah, so specifically for Guan Yu, he was just not keeping up in lane, and that's really the specific buff here, is that you'll see that the biggest change rank to rank is going to be from old rank 1 to new rank 1, and that was simply because that even with the passive boost on Conviction, it was healing you for basically the same amount as one basic attack for a whole ability. And this ability is really strong when you're with your teammates, but in solo lane, you're not with any teammates, you're by yourself. So specifically in that laning phase is when he was having a lot of struggles, and so we're just giving him a little bit of extra sustain. So even if he's not necessarily going to be able to keep up and clear, he can at least feel relevant in the lane and not relegated to sitting under tower and clearing the minions.
And spinning the stick. So. Cool. So the last in the standard lineup is Bacchus.
Yes, and Bacchus has been falling a bit behind in terms of his late game potential. In the early game, he's doing quite all right. He's hanging in there. The problem is that he kind of, you know, he's doing all right, falls off a cliff like
Bye.
tentatively. He's getting a little bit too tipsy at the party. So we wanted to give him a little bit more potential in terms of actually being able to feel like he's making a really big effect in the team fight, especially depending on how you're ordering, how you're using your skills. So for instance, you know, belly flop getting a little bit of extra late game damage is going to help when you are fully committing into a fight.
Yeah, when you're getting in there.
And it certainly will start to hurt once you are getting to that late game, especially if you're using the buff that you're getting from your ultimate, which would be very, very nice. So it's going to be a very nice small buff for him, but hopefully going to help his late game combo potential.
Yeah, reel it in a little bit, really finish the party strong. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So we've done it. We've talked about standard balance.
Standard.
So now we're in to pocket number 2. And these ones are dubbed quality of life adjustments. So talk me through that. What are we expecting here?
So with Smite 2 on the horizon, we're trying to kind of take a look at gods, just kind of in a nutshell, right? Like how do these gods feel? How do they play? Are there ways that we can improve these gods that either are a number 1 thematic win, number 2 just a fun win, or number 3 quality of life win? So we're going to be talking about number 3 right now, which is just quality of life. And so these are kind of things that are like, oh, you know, I kind of wish that I could do that. Or maybe it feels like, you know, things have kind of been not necessarily broken, but maybe a little bit like clunky, a little slow, a little sluggish. We just want to kind of improve the feel of these characters most of all.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to get in and talk about some of these then. And it looks like Chiron was first on the QOL list.
Yes, this one's very cool. I'm very excited about this one. So Chiron, when he dashes, he is able to basic attack, right? So he's firing arrows from his bow.
Yeah.
And so when we were thinking about it, we were like, well, when he uses too, he also fires arrows. So let's let him be able to use this potential, especially because he gets that power buff when in Giddy Up as well. You can now additionally get extra power buff for your Masterful Shot, which is just really fun.
Yeah.
And then in general, what you're seeing for Centaurus here is something that you might see for a couple of other abilities coming up. One thing, and this is a big shout out to Ponpon over on the Smite 2 team, who was doing some excellent technical work behind the scenes. He brought up kind of a discovery that he made over when working in Smite 2, where projectiles have kind of a bit of lag when it comes to when they're getting spawned, especially depending on the server.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to go a little bit more into the technical explanation of this, because that's kind of...
Yeah. So anytime, you know, on client, if you were to fire an ability, you have to shoot a message up to the server validates it, says, okay, hey, I can spawn this projectile, comes back down to the client, says, hey, you know, this projectile can spawn, and we go. And so whatever you see your ping, that's usually that round trip time that we're talking about. So you have to shoot the message up to the server and get the message back. So the idea here is that in order to make some of these characters feel a little bit more responsive in those situations, if you kind of adjust the timings to account for that lag compensation, i.e., I know that there's going to be some amount of ping while I'm waiting for this projectile to spawn, I can maybe kind of, offset some of these pre and post fires just a little bit to make that projectile come out maybe just a bit sooner on the server so that I'm seeing it on my animation side coming out at the right time, like right when my hand is swiping over or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and these adjustments that you're seeing, when we say we're making it quicker, this is fractions of a fraction of a second.
It's going to feel better. But it's not going to make.
It's a small difference, right? But you will feel it as the player, and as the enemy, you're barely going to notice the difference, if at all. This is really just for each individual player to see, I'm shooting my shot, it's coming out when it looks like it should be coming out, and all that like connects together. But again, as the enemy, projectiles are not moving faster. This is not like changing anything about the actual like ability that's coming out. It's just when you fire it. And the abilities themselves, they're not getting shorter. All of the time that's getting pulled away from this pre-fire is getting put into the post-fire. So you're still in the animation for the same amount of time. It's just when does this projectile spawn and how does it line up with everything else? And again, you'll see this change a couple of other times. And again, I want to emphasize fraction of a second. Very, very small, very minute, but noticeable.
It's not above. It's one of those things that when you're playing it, you feel it, like I'm sure for a lot of you gamers out there, you've hit something where you're like, I don't know what it is, but this just doesn't feel right. It's stuff like that, and it's crazy that y'all have been able to discover instances of that and fix it.
I think there are some cases where it's like a lot more egregious, and those are obviously going to be the biggest ones that you feel, and then there's some that are a lot more subtle, but we still want to kind of look across the board and apply that same methodology to any character. If it can make them feel better, we should do that.
It's the level of care that I've always seen y'all guys give, where it's like, all right, so there's something egregious, and we're going to fix that for sure, but let's look at literally everything and make sure that it all feels as good as it can. So
you'll see it a couple of times here, and again, it's something that we want to keep kind of in our back pocket for the future. If we find more of these instances, we will be fixing them when we find them.
Y'all are cool. All right, so Kali up next. Let's keep moving down.
Okay, completely different thing here. Completely different. Let's mind shift for a second here. So again, some of these things are going to just be nice feeling changes. This is not the biggest Kali change in the world. March for Death is her passive. She's got the passive wheel come up. Morrigan has the same passive wheel, but the difference between current Kali and current Morrigan is that when Morrigan has this wheel up, she can move around. And Kali has this wheel up when she spawns, and so a lot of times you're kind of put into this like quick thinking, like I have to make this decision now. I have to, do this immediately before I can do anything else. Now you kind of have the ability to move around and then also select while you're getting out of base.
Purely quality of life, purely just good stuff. So, awesome. Heimdall is up next.
Yes, this is another kind of more, again, leaning into that quality of life. When Heimdall misses a target with Through the Realms, of course, which you hope doesn't happen, but sometimes it does. Sometimes you want to use it even as just a dash, like a movement ability.
Yeah, you gotta escape.
His post-fire, which again we'll kind of talk about more, that's just like the technical term for like the ability's technically done doing the thing that it was going to do, but now you're resolving the animation. It was lasting too long because it was lasting the exact amount of time that it would take for him to actually swing. There was no difference between that, even though the animations were different lengths. And now he will have a unique post-fire for when he misses, which will allow him to act sooner and not be like stuck in the CC immune, can't do anything.
Yeah, like his brain was trying to process, I'm supposed to be swinging right now, but you missed, so you just stand there awkwardly for, that little bit of time. That's cool. Can you patch out the like shame of missing the ult point blank, or?
If I had the power to do that, I would. But sorry.
I mean, now that you can turn around and keep firing, right? That should.
There you go. That's the copium I needed. So Charon is next up on the QOL list.
Yes. Charon is a very new god, right? But even with Charon, we found a couple of instances that we could fix up with his basic attacks and Spectral Surge of the timing that we talked about previously. But also Ferryman of Souls. This is passive where he's able to gain max health. We've heard a lot of discussion about infinite stacking, or quote unquote infinite stacking mechanics, and how that could be pretty interesting and fun to have. So we want to try that with Charon, who is kind of our first step to seeing like how players really like this, because this isn't increasing his ability to like have health like more
right
in the early game. It's really if you are the GOAT Charon and you're getting to 350, you could go up to 998. You could have up to that much, but realistically, a lot of players weren't getting to that 350. We just want to say, you know what? Go for the high score. Get as high as you can. Get as close to the cap as you can absolutely get. But good luck. It's very hard.
So I have to ask, why 998?
It was a little bit of a UI restriction, and also, just thinking about 1,000 health is a lot of health, right?
That is a lot of health.
And it's not any easier to get the coins either.
Yeah.
You still have the limitation of I can only carry around 20
So
at a
many,
time,
yeah.
and I have to get them from minions. So it's not making him any better in the early game. It's really, again, the crazy Charons that were going for the high score. Now you can really go for the high score, and I'm very interested to see how high someone gets in an actual game. 'Cause
That makes a lot of sense.
it's cool.
The worm in my head was like, but why 998? And you know, I had to ask. I had to be the one to ask.
Yeah,
so.
if we could let you get infinite health, we would, but unfortunately, we got to cap it at some point. Even, I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
If you get to 998,
No, that's crazy.
You're crazy.
That's
You're
a long
insane.
game,
That's a
or
long
you're-
game.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, cool. So let's continue to paddle downstream with Sobek, kind of in the water as well.
yes, well, definitely in the water, because when he's lurking in the waters, he's not really like in the play space per se. He's kind of going under. it.
Very under, yeah.
He's very under.
submerged.
And he's kind of making his own water, right?
Yep.
Like he's kind of a little bit like in his own realm, and so visually at least, it kind of is very strange when your character is like 1% above the water and you're ramming into a wall and you're getting stuck in the Ymir wall or the Odin cage or whatever it might be. So we're just giving him player pass through when he is in his ultimate. So now he's going to be able to go under that. So there's a
Swim
lot
under.
less visual disconnect when that's happening.
Yeah, visually, it's a lot more cohesive.
Yeah.
Just based on what you would expect, right? If you were to go into that wall.
Instead of the puddle just kind of being like, bong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, cool. So next up, sticking with the water theme, Poseidon.
Yes, this is a cool one. I mean, Poseidon is a character that for a long time has had kind of this disconnect
Have the Poseidon shirt.
where his whirlpool looks like it's coming out, but it's not hitting people right away.
Yeah.
It looks like
Yeah.
it
People are
should be
just
hitting
narrowly escaping. Right?
and they're like this much, and it happens more frequently than you think, right? So for Whirlpool, we are increasing or rather decreasing the time it takes to activate to make sure that it better matches the visual effect. And again, it is a
Very
very
subtle.
slight adjustment, but you should actually be feeling the difference as the Poseidon player, which is going to be
I think it's clear to establish that intent, right? Is that we want it to visually look like it's matching, right?
Yes.
And I think in the past it always looked like it had completed, but people were still kind of escaping, and we wanted to make sure that if it's completing and you see that visually, that it reflects in that sort of hit onto the
Yes,
target.
exactly. And we made the smallest adjustment possible to actually
Oh,
make that
yeah,
true. It was literally
A lot of iteration.
100th of a second difference between some of our iterations. But we tested multiple of them, and we got to a number that we were feeling like, yep, this is the least amount that we have to change to actually make it feel like it's hitting.
Such a crazy how micro of an adjustment that kind of like you're like, all right, well, I guess 1/100th of a second.
Yeah,
is
you're like, how much
yeah,
actually
how
is
do you
that?
hone in on that? That's impressive. All right, so Cuckoo up next, KukulCon, with a couple changes. Basic
Yes.
tag, Zephyr, Whirlwind. Let's go down the list.
So Kukulkan is one of the characters that has kind of been a menace lately. He's been a bit of a ranked fiend and even a casual fiend to an extent. So he is getting a couple changes here, but we wanted to kind of pair it with some nerfs because, again, he's doing very well. So with us giving him a definite buff in him being able to hit the, well, we'll get there, but hit Whirlwind more consistently.
Yeah.
He's already doing well. He doesn't need to get extra, goodness off of that. We want the character to feel good, number one, and then additionally on top of that, we're going to balance him backwards a bit because
Yeah,
he's getting
be
that extra
fair.
consistency. So fair across the board. But yes, the basic attacks are going to be taking that timing consideration. Zephyr is also getting a cooldown increase as part of his nerf. And then if we move on to the next set of changes, Whirlwind is getting that same kind of time to activate as Poseidon, but it's also getting a 2% per tick nerf, which comes out to 12% in total, which is not a small nerf by any
No,
means.
definitely
12% is a lot.
That is a lot, but again, cool, like, and I appreciate that you're like, we want them to feel really good, and sometimes feeling really good comes with the added benefit of being a little easier to play or being a little buffed. So being able to look at that and say, we recognize this is actually a buff, and we're going to tone it down just a little bit so it's not crazy.
Yes.
Good attention to detail, in my humble opinion, as a I don't know everything player. So Ymir is up next, and I always love to see Ymir win. So what's happening with Ymir?
Yeah, this is a fun one because it's we've kind of looked across the board and looked at some of the restrictions on our characters and kind of asked ourselves, right, like, do all these restrictions make sense? And Ymir for a while, I think, being one of the first characters to come out, right, he has these strong both camera and self-root restrictions on his 2 and his 3, and his ult I think is also self-root. So we kind of looked at maybe just the camera portion and said, could we make the character feel just a bit more fluid if we enabled your camera to move around while you were casting these abilities, right? That means you can follow up, if you freeze or you slightly miss, you can at least follow up with your 2 right afterwards. You can, kind of U-turn. There's a lot of things that you could do that I think just you don't notice it until you get in game and you start experiencing what it's like to have your camera unlocked. But there's a lot of like clunkiness that comes from, channeling this ability, not being able to move your camera, and then all of a sudden, gaining that control back.
Yeah.
It's so much nicer that the moment you cast it, you're able to continue turning your camera and set up your next, your next plan. And
yeah, it's really nice for those like micro adjustments that you're making, like in the heat of the moment. Like if I'm like with this change, I can Ymir freeze, and maybe there's someone coming from the side, and I can already move my camera while I'm doing this animation, and then immediately after I'm done, and I'm already aiming to the right spot. Whereas before, I had to wait to get out of the camera lock, and now I can just do it.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I'm all for it.
Oh yeah.
So, Matt, continuing the thematic blocks,
Yeah,
Scotty up
this
next.
wasn't on purpose, by the way. This just happened.
It feels like it was on purpose. It was well planned. So we're in the ice still, and we got Scotty to talk about.
So Scotty is getting, again, the basic attack timing change that a lot of other characters have gotten here. But Calder has been a naughty, naughty dog lately. He's been dying to jungle camps, and due to the way that Unleashed camps work, he will take the aggro of the Unleashed camps. And previously, he was taking 1 pip of health per hit from a jungle camp, so he would just basically die instantly to these. So essentially, we are making it so that Calder is kind of going to interact with these jungle camps in the same exact way that he would with lane minions. But very important to note, because we had to make sure that we check this one, it doesn't interact the same way with jungle bosses. He will still take 1 pip of damage per hit from a jungle boss, so no crazy tanking mechanics on Gold Fury, Fire Giant, Pyro, whatever it might be. He will still die to that at the same rate. But jungle camps, fixed up. Feels really nice.
Fixed up. Went to the doggy daycare, got some training, is now good to fight those jungle camps. So rock and roll. So next up, not thematic to ice at all, Cupid.
Yeah, now we kind of got a little bit of extra action here in terms of we've done a similar change to a lot of other gods. Like Agni is a character, for example, that I can think of that got a very similar change that revolves around basic attacks, where we want to encourage you to get active with this fight, with this passive. And so when you're actually fighting gods, you're getting stacks twice as fast, and it is very, very important for Cupid to be getting to that max stacks for the stun, for the extra heal, for the extra damage, whatever it might be. We just want to make sure that if you're fighting someone, you're getting rewarded for doing that, and this is a really good way to do that.
Yeah, I think when you get into team fights, you don't have minions around, right? It sometimes gets a little bit harder to stack that passive, and I think this enables you in these team fights to get it back again.
Yes.
Which is really good.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, we can. All right. I found another theme. They're getting looser, but we have people with wings now for Jing Wei up next. So.
Yes, Jing Wei. So Persistent Gust has always had a buff when you knock yourself up.
Yeah.
The problem is that you don't really want to knock yourself up. You don't want to. Even though you can and then you dash away, like that is a core mechanic of her, you do go pretty high and you send yourself the same height as enemies. But now the best part is that you will be sending yourself a little bit less high than you send enemies or anything of that nature. And the best part is that you still have a decent amount of time to dash. It does decrease the amount of time that you have to dash. That is true. However, there's still plenty of reaction time to this. We had a lot of people test this to make sure that they felt like it was still a very solid amount of time that they had to dash and react to it. And in general, you are getting this buff more often, and you don't feel as bad setting it up for yourself to get the buff as well, which is very, very nice.
Yeah, I think there were cases where it could feel like a punishment to have used it, even though it was like the right thing to do, and I think we wanted to reduce the frequency of it feeling like a punishment.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and a very inventive way to do it as well, just by changing the height. Yeah, that's just a cool change. So Fafnir up next a little bit.
Oh, we saw this one a lot.
Yeah.
We saw this one a lot.
Also, I'm super excited about. This is like a huge point of feedback for a lot of people. It's something where when Fafnir leaps currently in Smite, there's a bit of a lock where he's not allowed to really provide any extra input till the ability finishes fully resolving. And we looked at it and we're like, what if we just turn this off, right? What if we just reset this and make it, nope, the moment you land, you can immediately start chaining into other abilities, other input, you can turn your camera, do all those things while you're jumping, and he immediately, I mean, so much of that sort of like clunkiness.
The first playtest, the person that was playing Fafnir immediately went, whoa. Whoa. That feels different. That feels good. And I was honestly like super excited to see people suggesting this on Reddit and on Twitter and things like that, seeing some of the spoiler changes. So there you go, guys. We got it.
Yeah.
Fafnir is feeling better.
You love to see it. You love when something just feels better. So Tiamat up next with a little bit of a stance wiggle.
Yeah. So Tiamat is a very interesting character because her two stances have two very different purposes.
Very different.
And usually what happens is you want to start an upright stance like 99% of the time. And starting in the ground stance kind of puts you in a weird spot because it puts your movement ability on cooldown if you want to go back to the upright stance. And so in general, we previously noted that Tiamat had been respawning in whatever stance that she had died in, but if you want to start an upright stance 99% of the time, let's just spawn you an upright stance.
Yeah, I think a Phoenix Siege is a good example of that, right? If you had died in a previous fight and the team is pushing like a Phoenix and you're just now respawning and you started in the sort of ground stance, it might not be the best position. You might not be able to put yourself in the best position to get that damage off.
Yeah.
And then now you have to waste time to go back to upright stance, so you have that range again. So this is just to make it so that cheat has more viability, more consistency across all of those different situations.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense, definitely. So Bastet and Pounce are next on the list.
Dude, I have been
this is
waiting
the
for
one.
this change for a long time.
All right.
So Bastet, sometimes has a little bit of issue clearing camps, especially because her leap is one of the abilities that kind of has this persistent effect that you can re-leap back. So when you're clearing a camp, if you want the ability to go on cooldown, you have to fire the leap and then leap back. And it's it's a big waste of time that you have to do when you're clearing camps, and it doesn't feel very good to be able to do that. So now, when Bastet uses Pounce, she can right-click it to put the ability on cooldown, cancel the ability to jump back, and lose her movement speed stim, so all of that goes away, but you do put it on cooldown. So in those situations where you're clearing a camp, you don't really need the movement speed, or you just want to put it on cooldown sooner, you're going to be able to do that now, and it's felt so nice, dude. It's been great.
We've noticed the players really appreciate that sort of control over when they get to put that thing on cooldown, because then there's a little bit more micro that they get to gain and a little bit more thought process behind it. So we figured with Bastet, especially because, again, you had to do that leap back if you wanted to reset it, it just feels so much more nicer to shortcut that and say, okay, I can right-click and get back to the state that I want to be in.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't agree more, too. That, especially with an ability like that. Like you said, maybe you just want that forward movement, and you want it to hit cooldown, you want it to be up so you can use it to jump again, or if you're about to gank or something, but you're like, I'm locked out until it times out, you know? So that's one of those things that just genuinely feels good. Cool change. So Freya up next. Irradiate's getting a little...
Yes, this is her one. So very similar change here to Bastet. A little bit different because this ability was not like this before. It was just a buff, and then it went on cooldown.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of more in that same Bastet style where you use it, and then it's active, 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 and when it turns off, the cooldown starts. So we've adjusted the cooldown to kind of compensate for that change. It's not getting a full switch to, the cooldown that was before, because then it would be a very short cooldown. But the nice thing about this change is that when you use Irradiate and you've got Pulse going at the same time, it changes how your basic attacks function. Which sometimes you want those AoEs, sometimes you want the extra damage. Now as the Freya player, you have that flexibility to say, okay, I want to go back to my AoEs, or okay, I don't need this anymore. I finished clearing my camps. I can just put it on cooldown and not think about it. And so having this extra, like you were talking about before, micro control just feels so nice for a lot of these characters.
I think there's cases in lane 2 where you might have started with an AoE, then turn on a Radiate because something happened, and then they back off, and you're like, okay, I want to go back to the AoE because I still have that timer going, and I want to make sure that I'm hitting the minions, but you don't have that option in the prior system because you'd have to wait for both of them to go on cooldown. So this way, it gives you control to kind of cycle between them without really changing, again, anything identifying about the way that combo works.
Yeah, well, awesome. This next one, I'm very excited about.
I'm so happy about this one.
Is
As
amazing.
a
This
resident
is
Hoonbots
great.
player, Hoonbots and the Sacred Monkey.
This has been one of the most frustrating parts of playing Hunbats, probably ever.
No, I agree.
Is that the
Universal.
teleport has sent you places where you didn't really expect to go, where you didn't want to go even.
Or it didn't feel like it was firing off and you're spamming it.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And now it feels great.
So much better.
So much better, so much better. It really is kind of night and day from what it was before. It's hard to kind of describe exactly how it's changed, but believe me, when you feel it, you will understand.
Yeah, I think Mifflin had a good explanation, or a good description there, which was it feels like it's doing what you want it to do now.
Yes, exactly.
Which, I mean, it's crazy how a change, like that sounds so simple. It just feels like it's doing what you think it should do or what you want it to do. Sounds so simple when you say it.
Yeah.
But like the implementing and the refining of that. So, as one of my favorite junglers or assassins anyway, I'm super excited for that, because that was always the one hold off, is I'm like, I'm not even going to try to teleport. I never land where I want to. Like, I've never mastered it, and I feel confident now. So Artemis is up next, and her traps are getting a little snappier.
Yeah, I think Lermy has like the full details on this, but I think this is one of the examples where I was talking about there's more egregious cases in the game of like timings just not matching. I think this was one of those cases where you'd see like the full animation, and then like maybe it would feel like a larger delay would happen before you'd see the trap.
Yes,
Yeah.
she would essentially, the animation she does, she kind of like puts out her hand.
Yeah.
She's like casting the trap out. And then she would do the full animation, and then the trap would spawn. Whereas, you'd think like normally, oh, she's throwing the trap. The trap should be leaving as she's like mid-throw.
Yeah.
But it wasn't doing that. So now it is doing that. And again, it is the smallest amount possible to make it feel like it's matching.
Cool. Just love to hear it. Get those traps out more reliably.
Yeah.
So Jean-Qui up next.
Yeah, same thing for Zhang here. Very similar lines. This is just we wanted to make sure the actual effect of the damage and the stun were matching that kind of circle that he makes when he uses Book of Demons.
Yeah.
So this is just lining it up a little bit better.
Yeah, and it looks like we continue that trend of lining things up a little bit more with Medusa and her acid
Yep.
spray.
This is another very simple one. She was doing the full like spit animation, and she would again go all the way out. Nothing would happen, and then she shoots it. So now she will shoot it at the time that she's supposed to shoot it.
Yeah, it just feels more fluid or acid,
Exactly.
I guess.
Exactly.
So Sylvanas looks like is also getting kind of that timing touch up to the basic attacks and the grasp.
Yes. This is crazy.
This is crazy.
It feels
Crazy.
so
So much better.
So much better for the grab. And we saw a lot of this ability get mentioned too. So we're really glad that we hit this one as well for this timing pass, because believe me, like as the person getting pulled, because I played as it, against it, and with it, and let me tell you, I think I was playing with J-Mac when it was happening, and J-Mac's reaction when he first hit a pull was so funny. He was like, "Oh my god, like that was insane! That feels so good." And I just love hearing reactions like that from our playtesters. And it didn't feel very different as an enemy. It looked basically the same, but when you have that kind of reaction, that's when you know it feels right.
like,
it's been really
did
awesome.
it.
Yeah, I think that's important to point out, right? We want to make it feel so much better for the person who's playing the character, but we don't want to increase that frustration factor on the receiving end, right?
Yes,
I feel like we
exactly.
really hit that mark with a ton of these changes.
Yeah, and that's super cool to hear. And I mean, as somebody who's played a lot of Sylvanas, that was one of those abilities that I was always like, man, I feel like I never get the timing of this.
Right.
Like, it is such a hard ability to land without practice. And so to know that as the player, it might be a little more intuitive now because the timing lineup it just excites me.
And I'm really glad that so many people talked about Sylvanas and Fafnir and stuff, and because it feels good that we were also recognizing these same things when we were looking across the board. So it feels good that we're already targeting it, especially when people had just started, being a bit more vocal about it. It's nice to be able to like immediately address it.
Yeah. So thank y'all for the feedback, and hopefully a good number of y'all are sitting there like, yes, I said that. That's my change. So last but not least in this quality of life section, Sir Nunos and his basic attacks and the Bramble Blast.
Yep, same kind of idea. And this is just another character that had this kind of same issue that we were noticing, and we were like, well, why not fix it? And again, this is kind of to put a nice bow at the end here. If you see any of these kind of changes that you think that we should touch up on, please let us know. Give us the feedback. We want to make sure that we're doing this kind of change for as many characters as we can. And there are a lot of characters, right? And there's a lot of abilities as well. So please be specific when you see these things come up. We want to be able to fix them.
Man, I was trying to do the mental math. 130 gods, at least 4 abilities per, which would be like
It's a lot.
500 something. Like, yeah, that's a lot because there's stand switchers, and man, that made my head hurt. If one of y'all has that number, tweet it at me. It'd be cool to know how many abilities are in the game. But that does it for that section. There's one more very exciting section of God Balance to come, but we're gonna pivot a little bit to the last new event coming with this update, and this event is called the Netherbeasts event. So this is a new one that's coming out with the 11.3 update. So that's next Tuesday, and it's gonna work like a lot of the events that y'all have seen in the past that you might be familiar with. It is a variety of new skins and cosmetics. There's a couple different ways you can purchase through them. There will be a chest, the Netherbeast chest, that you can roll, or you can direct purchase a lot of the stuff from the past. Obtaining any 3 of the Netherbeast event cosmetics will unlock the reward skin for you, which is listed there. It's called Death's Rain Shock, but we'll get there in just a second. We're going to start off with the first of the 3 skins in this, and yes, they're all cross-gen. And this one is called Shadow Sentry Cerberus.
Ooh, yeah, the Shadow line is one of my favorites, and I'm really glad to see it on Cerberus. This looks so cool.
Yeah, I was immediately drawn to like the spiral core, like right there at the base of the center head, like neck. That's just cool looking. Like,
I just
right
love the kind of like interesting, like animalistic, like masks going on here with each of his heads. I think it's a really neat touch to kind of pivot him a little bit from being a dog to being some other kind of mysterious forest creature.
Yeah, Cerberus is definitely, that's something that Cerberus, I love.
Oh, he's so fuzzy.
I love like the waving texture. I don't know how to describe it, but like the stuff that's like waving or phasing out. It's so nice.
That's true. Like I can't think of a good word. It's almost like looking at 3D without the glasses, the way
Very
it like offsets a
ethereal.
little bit. But no, I was just gonna say that Cerberus has canonically had a lot of really cool. Like his skin lines can drag him to a lot of places because there's like the tank, and there's just like changing a 3-headed dog into a bunch of different things is always exciting. And like you said, just taking it from, it's still Cerberus, but it doesn't seem as much like a dog. It really is some kind of shadow beast with a 4th head on its tail. It has kind of a chimera thing going. Yeah. So anyway, let's check out that Smite 2 render since you know this is CrossGen.
Oh,
That's so cool
That
looking.
looks really nice.
yeah, Missives just turned out so incredible with this one, and we've been saying this all show. The textures and the fidelity, just incredible.
Yeah, I love the way light's like blending off the chest towards the back.
Yeah.
The way that it's
Yeah.
like fading
It actually
out.
feels like a light source.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, that's been something, again, if y'all have seen the deep dives, that's been something that was harped over when we were talking about FX, was the way light reacts in Smite 2. Like, you'll be walking by stuff, and if you're emitting light, a lot of times it'll show in the environment. So to see a skin like this and be like, that's emitting light, that's genuinely emitting light, super cool. So next up, Headhunters to Nunos coming at you.
Oh, he's scary.
Yeah, I don't like it. That's
In a
It's
good way,
really
but scary.
That's fleshy. Like, that arm is wet. I don't know. I don't like it. It's scary.
Well, he's certainly got the fear factor going on, and you can kind of see in the background there. That's kind of what his boars might be looking like. These little like chainsaw pig things.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I
That's
hadn't
cool.
even picked up. Wow. Yeah. Now, my question is, did he just break out of that containment pod, or did he hunt something out of it?
I think he seems like he might be making them, right? Because when he turns people into the boars, right? You know, maybe he's making them in
Oh,
this
wow.
lab
It's
thing.
a science. That's dark.
He's a scientist.
You just gave some dark lore there. So anyway, cross-gen, Smite 2. Let's see how much more horrifying it looks in Smite 2.
Oh, yes,
Ooh.
horrifying.
Ooh.
Oh, and we get to see the other colors too. That's so sick.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's really awesome looking.
Yeah, I love the grit, the detail and the grit in UE5. That's so
Yeah,
sick.
he definitely feels like a monster you'd run into in one of those like horror shooter games.
Yep.
Like
Yeah, a few
he's
come to
he's
mind.
gonna come in and get you. That's for sure.
Yeah, I like too the like you can see the definite area, like the hybrid between flesh and
Man
metal.
and machine.
Yeah, between man and machine. So that is that, and we have one more cool skin to talk about. This is that reward skin I mentioned, Death's Reign Shock.
Ooh.
Okay, that's cool.
I love
All
it,
right, I'm
dude.
sold.
Yeah.
Where do I purchase this? Let me get it right now.
I love the presence on the skin.
There's something about smiles that are menacing that like it's this like really niche part of horror that I'm really into. Like when you make a smile make you uncomfortable, I like that. I don't know what it is.
Can we talk about the scale of this art as well? You see the little guys in the bottom right? They're praying to this gigantic death god, and yeah, he certainly will be bringing it. I mean, he's just got to take a pinky and boop,
Yeah,
and they're
boop.
gone.
And 4 pinkies on this one at least.
Six.
If not, yeah,
He's got six.
Okay, you're right. I miscounted. So again, tag yourself in the photo. I'm dude far left on his knees. That's definitely me. I'm paying more homage than anybody, dude. So all right, let's check out the Smite 2 render of this because you know I can't not.
Okay, that's sick.
That's so
I love
cool.
the weapon.
Dude, just again, I was talking about the scale and the art, but can we talk about the scale and the model? Just how sick this axe looks. And it, like, Chuck is a tall dude.
Yeah,
This is a big axe.
that is.
I also love the double headpiece going on behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah, very regal.
And the details of the extra hands too. Like normally you'd be like, oh, it kind of like stands out a little bit, but this just really feels kind of supernatural and creepy, but like in a really cool way.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think for a skin like this, it'd be a darn shame if we just didn't dive right into Smite 1 and give it the old lookaroo.
Yeah.
So let's check this out in game.
Oh,
Ooh.
oh, you could really see the back arms here.
The back arms have knives.
Dude,
I love the way they animate. That's so fun.
the animation is awesome.
It is awesome. The way they like flex out. It's really horrifying. It's giving me
he
like
kind of slashes with them too in that third hit.
it's giving me weird spider vibes. Oh yeah, you're right. That's crazy.
Those hit effects look so cool.
They're even
Oh, and the
worked in.
passive with the green. You know, headpiece is coming into use.
That's true. Oh yeah, wow, yeah, it was glowing like that emerald for the passive.
The FX color just like stands out so much, but it also fits so well.
Yeah, I'll always be a fan of like the jade emerald kind of, just that really deep, rich green color.
Yeah.
So
I think the trails and everything too, like off the one and the autos, look so nice.
Yeah, this skin
Yeah.
owns.
I love that throw. It's like a flame too that follows it. And again, you know, if you get this skin, it'll be waiting for you in Smite 2. So you get to get in and enjoy what you're seeing right now, and be horrifying all about Smite 1 in the battleground of the god. And then Smite 2 hits, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play Shock. I'm gonna be this horrifying 6-armed green monster of death, or 8-armed, yeah, 6-armed. I don't, man, math is.
I mean,
hard
if
when
he looks
you're
this
smiling.
scary in Smite 1, you can only imagine what it's gonna feel like to play him in Smite 2, or rather, to play against him in Smite 2.
Yeah, so I don't know, I'm pumped about it. So again, this will be the reward skin for the Netherbeasts event dropping next Tuesday. So that's March 19th. It's right around the corner. It's crazy how close, like every time, ever since they were like, hey, updates are going to happen a week after the update show. I'm like, that's awesome, because that's less waiting that I have to do after talking about it. So make sure you check out this event. Again, roll the chest or buy direct, and you will earn your way towards unlocking that Shock skin as the reward skin. So super exciting. So now we're back in the land of the balance.
Ooh.
And we're where,
Oh, yeah.
if y'all have seen some of the teasers that we sprinkled out on Twitter, I guess those were more leaks than teasers, huh? So some of the leaks that we put out there, then you should be excited for this, because again, they were cooking back there and they created some heat. So we're calling these major god balance, because a lot of these changes are pretty crazy. But you know, talk about that. What led y'all to cooking this hard?
Yeah, so again, we kind of were examining a lot of characters going, into this transition period between Smite 1 and Smite 2, where Smite 1 still has a lot of really awesome content coming.
Yeah.
But Smite 2 is also on the way, and all these characters have got to go to Smite 2 at some point. So we really want to like look at the core of each character and say, is there something, is there a problem that we can fix with these characters that is making them feel weaker inherently than other characters?
Okay.
Is there something that's more fun, more smooth, that's going to resolve a
fluid.
lot of the clunk, get that fluidity going? Is there any way that we can update them? Is there something that we feel like this character's missing in any way? Or is there just something that will be cool to try and just see what people think about it?
Yeah.
And so a lot of those come down to what these changes kind of are at a base, and we understand that a lot of these are going to be a little bit more intense than the quality of life changes that you're seeing. And again, we are like very receptive here to your feedback. We want to know what you guys think, and if
Very
you do
much
think
so.
that these are more fun. And again, to reemphasize, a lot of these changes are as small adjustments as possible to make sure that we can kind of keep it still like, reined back in. We're not going completely crazy here, and we want to also make sure that it feels fair for the enemies playing against these characters as well as people playing the characters.
Yeah, and I think it gives us a lot of valuable information about, which of these adjustments really do move that needle to make things feel that much better, and which of them maybe don't, right? And then we can kind of learn from that and adjust from there. So.
Yeah.
And some of these characters as well are 10 plus years old at this point, and it's not like we necessarily want to force change.
Nope.
But where can we make these small adjustments here and there, or even just changes throughout kits, to make characters feel more interesting, to make them more intriguing, make them more fun. That's the number one for us, is fun, and we want to make sure that you guys are having fun. And if you're not, please, again, tell us how you feel about these changes.
For sure.
And we also are aware that a lot of this will impact the balance of these characters, and some of them we have taken that into account. So please do as well keep that in mind, as these are changes that will make these characters better. We understand that, and we'll be keeping a very close eye on them going forward, because with the last one we learned a lot of lessons around what that change looks like and how people want us to react after we do the changes. We want to make sure that this stuff is not like tormenting people for patches on patches, right? We want to act swiftly when these things are not feeling right, or things are too strong. We want to make sure that, again, you guys are having fun. That's the number one thing, and a lot of these are really, really fun.
Really fun.
Yeah, well, the science of balance at its core is try something, observe it, and write down the results, and that's what y'all are doing. Y'all are being inventive and trying crazy new things. Just from what I've seen of this thus far, y'all are really, really stretching your legs and saying, what can we do to try to make things more enjoyable? So, and of course, we will watch how they land out in the world and record how y'all, the community, react to it. And if y'all are like, that was pretty cool, but like, no, then we'll be like, got it, don't worry. So. So with all of that said, the wonderful preamble out of the way, let's dive in.
Oh, I'm so excited.
First and foremost, we have ESET.
I mean, this is a big change to start off with.
Yeah, right off the bat.
No, this one I'm really excited for. So the kind of big push here, right, is we've for a long time kind of recognized that ESET has at certain points maybe been really strong. I remember back when I used to scrim, right?
Yeah.
There was metas where we used to it was all about mid pressure and kind of controlling jungle camps. And over time, I think the game has kind of evolved where that's not fully like the most important thing anymore.
Yeah.
And I think where ESET and other characters have kind of ebb and flowed in terms of strength and weakness. ESET kind of trended more towards that weakness and has kind of like remained there, not as strong. There's some times where we've maybe made adjustments that's brought her back into the fray, but she seems to kind of recede after a little little bit. And I think for most people that have played a set, they've probably asked themselves, like what's maybe the core issue that I'm experiencing with this character. And a lot of time it's been talks about Wing Gust, and Wing Gust being just a little bit too slow at getting off, the amount of damage it is, or just feeling a little sluggish compared to some other abilities. So we looked at that and we said, you know what? Let's try just speeding it up. We've talked about this before. We've tried to maybe do some other things. Maybe this has been the answer, and we should test this. We should see, is this a positive change for her?
Yeah, and we have a video ready as well for you guys to take a look at the change here. So we've changed it to be approximately 25% faster. So this does mean that all 4 projectiles are going to be taking that 25% less time to come out. So you can see on the left, you are doing it a little bit faster, but again, this is an adjusted animation. The projectiles are coming out at different times, and they're very slightly faster to also better mimic this movement. And so a very important thing to note here as well, this is kind of a shift reset as well, because when she uses this ability, she's getting movement speed, she's gaining slow immunity, she's getting a couple other things here that she is losing a little bit faster than before, but we believe that the damage trade-off here is going to be very worth it to get all of that damage out 25% faster.
Yeah, it's definitely noticeable when you throw it into a comparison like this. So, wow, that was really cool. That's right, like you said, right off the bat. That's a big change. So super awesome. So now we're moving into another really spicy change. This one's crazy. Ever since I learned about this one, I think. Ever since I learned about this one, I've been hyped to see it go out. So Terra is getting some cool shift.
So Terra is a character that really starts to unlock around that level 3 area where you're finally able to get this dash.
Online.
So one thing that's become very awkward for Terra is that when it comes to balancing her, she is just very, very difficult to get rolling. But once she gets there, she's really, really good. And also, she's just a lot more fun. That was the #1 thing that we honed in on, is that playing Terra without the dash, you feel like you're kind of working with half a
it's
kit.
missing something,
It feels like it's really missing that secret spice that blends it all together, you know what I mean? Once you start to have this dash, you feel like a complete character again. And that was the thing that we were like, okay, we want to see how this feels, #1, because we were like, okay, this is kind of crazy. Let's talk about that first off. But yes, so Force of Nature is her dash. She now has access to this ability from level 1, which means you do not need to put a point into it, but the thing is, if you don't put a point into it, it doesn't do damage, and it has a 20-second cooldown, which is 9 seconds longer than the actual original cooldown of 11 seconds at this point in time, at least. The mana cost is the same, but here's the thing. We understand that this is going to bump Terra's clear and ability to do all these things well in the early game up a lot, especially those first 2 levels. She's going to have very good pressure. But the thing is, Terra's been kind of MIA for a hot minute here, so we understand that this is going to be a very big shift in terms of how her presence is across the battleground, especially in Conquest, because this doesn't happen in a lot of other modes, right? She didn't have this issue because they start at level 3 and you can just be Terra right away. And then you also have that trade-off as well. That's a very interesting choice where you can say, maybe I don't put a level in my 1, and now I can kind of put more emphasis into my heal or my stun, or I can get my ult and not really think about it. So you have another kind of choice to make now, which I think is really interesting to do amongst that. But again, you are suffering in that. You're not getting the damage from that, and it's a 20-second cooldown. So I mean, 20 seconds for a dash is pretty long. But again, it does unlock her potential, and that was the #1 thing. We want this character to feel like a whole character from minute 1.
Yeah, it really gets the kit mechanics online out of the fountain. So
exactly.
Super cool. Cthulhu is up next, a terror of the mind.
Yes. This one is definitely another crazy one.
This one is crazy.
Every single one. I'm going to say it every time. But Cthulhu is a character that is very kind of methodical and slow. But we want to make sure that he's not feeling kind of without agency when you play him. You were spending a long time channeling the Mire previously, and now we wanted to kind of see, this is a testing phase as well, right? We were like, okay, what does it feel like if we kind of take this down by quite a lot and let him kind of play the combos? Because one of the biggest parts of Cthulhu's kit is being able to get off that full kind of madness combo to get them up to the number of stacks that you want, that increase your mitigations towards the mid to late game. And it's so hard to do that. It's incredibly hard to do that.
I think before you feel a lot more restricted because you have to do these things in sort of sequential order. I think by now, kind of unlocking, when you can cast and other things during that ability, it makes it a lot easier to have a lot more choice in the way that you want to engage certain team fights, the way you want to play your lane, right? I think it just kind of opens up the character to breathe more.
Yes, and we understand that argument as well, because people go, okay, well, I play against Cthulhu in lane, I cancel him out of this ability, and then he's got nothing, which doesn't feel very great for a character. But again, we want to make sure that we aren't eliminating the counterplay. You still can cancel this ability if you are, a very savvy player being able to play against it. And again, you'll get used to it. But let's take a look at it visually in game and how it looks and feels to kind of just illustrate this a little bit better. But here is kind of the duration that you'll see and the freedom that you get, bro. It feels
so nice.
It feels like you've unlocked something new, which is it just changes the way that you play this character fundamentally, and it's felt like a new character almost. Like I can't even explain to you how different this has made Cthulhu feel and how much more agency I have as the Cthulhu player. And again, we understand that this is a very, very big change, and this could impact a lot of how he is able to participate in team fights and in laning phase. And again, the counterplay argument is something we are very, very inherently aware of. So again, please give this a try. Tell us what you think and how you have enjoyed playing Cthulhu, or if playing Cthulhu has gotten more frustrating. Or playing against Cthulhu has gotten more frustrating, rather. So do keep all those things in mind, but I just can't wait to see what people think when they actually play him and get their hands on him.
Yeah, because like you said, before it was so necessarily sequential. There was an order you had to do things in, and if that order gets interrupted, you have to back up and wait for that order to come back. Now you freed it up. You've knocked it out of order. Think you can do things in different ways. The combos are changed. So this is going to be another one of those where we pass it out to the community and y'all go absolutely bananas with it, and we're looking forward to that feedback. So this next one was one of the leaks that we shared is Agni, and y'all got to see how his ult is a little different now, the way you cast it. So let's dive into that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of buzz around this one. I mean, Agni is anybody who's followed kind of when I was playing pro back in the day. Agni was definitely one of my favorite characters. To grind this character a lot. And one of the things that I kind of felt like we always ran into, and I chatted with other Agni players and stuff. There's a little bit of sort of momentum stop to this character. Right? This character is very fluid in terms of movement, dashing around, doing his combo, and then there's kind of like an abrupt momentum stop when you're trying to do some of these really cool things. And we wanted to see, again, kind of in this vein of unlocking fluidity in characters, making characters more fun, making them more exciting, if we just maybe unrestrict that movement a little bit. And again, he's slowed, right? It maybe wasn't clear in the video that we had leaked before, but it's slowed. Yeah, it just slowed movement. Does it make the character feel like while they're doing these sort of combos, it's a lot more fun, right? A lot more engaging. And again, it's that same sort of opposite side of the equation, which is, does it feel frustrating to play against? We ran a ton of internal playtests to make sure, can you still punish him when he starts ulting? And again, yes, that slow makes it very easy to still follow up on him and do all these things. But I think for the Agni player, there's a lot new excitement going into this character.
Yeah, and let's take a look at it again, just so for the people that didn't see this before, they can get a chance to see it. And so again, he is getting slowed. He can move though, but like Chaos was talking about, it feels night and day for the Agni player to be able to kind of, again, keep this fluidity, keep this motion that you're doing, and it really feels like you, not necessarily like playing a different character like I would say to the level that Cthulhu is, because it really isn't that big of a change in terms of the actual mechanics of the ability, but when it comes to your combos and your ability to kind of feel like you can shift targets and like you are focusing on the right thing, it does feel very, very smooth. And again, like you were talking about, we did a lot of testing and a lot of balance to make sure we were feeling like we were unanimous in where he should be able to walk to and how much he should be slowed by. And we tested a lot of different values, and the value that we're at feels
right. Yeah.
Feels right. It feels right. And again, we want to make sure that the counterplay argument is still there, and we did agree in general that when we were playing against this character, it did feel like he was moving a little bit, but it wasn't something that I could never get used to, or that a lot of our playtesters just felt like was impossible to play around. It was just something that had a significantly bigger increase for the Agni player than it had any kind of decrease in ability to counter or increase in frustration for the enemies. And that was the most important thing that we asked every single time. Every single time when a playtest was done, what did you guys think? How did you guys feel? Was this frustrating?
And we're aware, right, that Agni in many ways is viewed kind of maybe at like the central point of balance in certain things. So we're obviously being very careful here. We want to pay very close attention to kind of see how this change, pans out. And I think it's good, especially, to that Smite 2 point, right? Kind of test where these lines really do benefit the game. And maybe those lines are too far, right? But it is good to still kind of establish that value, because it helps us make better informed decisions moving forward.
Yeah, and when you hit the nail on the head, it's all reward for the people that like playing that god, and none of the consequences for the people that play against them, like you said. Obviously there is a difference, you will notice as the opponent, but the more you can hone in on these changes, where as the person playing, it feels amazing, it feels fluid, you love it, and the person that you're playing against doesn't feel immediately like they're being crushed because of the change. It's such a fine line, but y'all have hit it in a lot of places, and like you said, it's a constant thing that's being asked about. I'm sure y'all will let us know as well, and we'll be looking out for that feedback. But
yes, exactly.
It's a really cool direction to balance in. Is how can we make every individual experience feel as good as possible while you're playing it, and while not punishing the people that you're playing against.
Exactly. I think that's one thing that we really want to emphasize, is that a lot of people play Smite for the gods. And, you know, we can do as much item and balance and number tuning and things like that, but if the god doesn't feel fluid to play or fun to play, then people are not going to want to play it. And Agni is a character that is relatively fun to play, but we were like, can we maximize this? Can we make it better? Can we improve this experience for people? And again, please let us know how you feel about this change when it comes down to it, but please do give it a try, because honestly, when you feel it out, it feels like
that A/B comparison, you immediately recognize it. Yeah.
Rock and roll. So this is one that I'm super excited for. I'm a Zeus player. Zeus is next on the docket, and the shield is getting a little love, and I think probably the best way.
At last. Some might say at last.
I think this is a very common request that we've seen. I think Zeus, you know, for the most part, he's come in and out of favor in certain ways. I think Conquest has always been a tricky spot for him. I think in the ultimate game modes, he's definitely like a lot, a little bit more easy to play in those situations. But in Conquest, there's always been a little bit of a struggle in terms of like, doing that laning phase and then kind of transitioning into the mid and late game and some of those things. So we felt like kind of looking at the AO2 as a big part of where those frustrations lie. And one of them is, if you throw out the 2 and it's in a situation where you no longer need it to be there or something like that, you're waiting for it to expire before it goes on cooldown and all these other things. So the first one that we wanted to do was you can now press 2 to recall the shields back, immediately start your cooldown. It gives you, again, talking about that basket change, for example, it gives you a lot more control over when you start that cooldown and when you kind of like, want to be in and be out. And then the other aspect we were kind of asking ourselves is, can we still, maybe give him a little bit more sense of urgency when either, he's trying to clear the wave or when people are coming at him. And we felt like, oh yeah, if you look at the 2, it looks like the 2 should be kind of applying a charge when it lands. So we went ahead and also kind of added that, as it felt like it made the character a lot more consistent in terms of getting to those 3 charges.
Yeah, making his combo feel like it was actually achievable, and you had more ways to skillfully get to that 3rd charge without needing to kind of get lucky and really force like a super hard engagement, which for Zeus is really challenging a lot of times because he is a rather immobile character. We wanted to make sure that having some kind of combo potential there did feel good, felt right. And again, we understand that this is another kind of character that does bring frustration in non-conquest modes, but we did feel like a lot of these changes don't affect them as much because, when Zeus is playing in Arena, he plays so differently from Conquest. And this is mostly going to resolve around people that are around the shield, playing near the shield, and backliners far away from it. Not a big deal. But again, it will improve his clear a lot. It will improve his combo potential a lot. So we are keeping a close eye on Zeus in terms of his performance, especially in Conquest, but also in non-Conquest modes, because we want to keep an eye if we need to increase those non-Conquest changes or anything along those lines, or just a general nerf across the board. Because again, we understand a lot of these are buffs for these characters, but we want the character to feel better and more fun, number one.
I think it's worth saying too, right, in terms of consistency, right? If you can make the kit a little bit more consistent, it also becomes easier to balance, right? There's other knobs that we can turn to make the character, if the character ends up being a little bit too strong from here, we can always tune some knobs to get him back. But the fact that it's more consistent makes it easier to make these sort of adjustments. And that's also the other, side of the coin that we're trying to look for. And we think that this helps us get to that point where it is a bit easier to balance.
And it's not even to say like that it makes the character easier either, right? Because you still have to execute a very specific combo to make sure that these kind of situations that you get to 3 charges, or really any of these characters, to that point. So we're hoping that this kind of unlocks a new kind of skill cap for these characters, where you need to play around with these new kind of changes to really be able to min-max how long your shield is out versus how much you need the attack speed and the movement speed stim, or how you place it to actually get all the charges on the wave or the enemy, or combo into your 3 charges.
Yeah, it is important to point out too, if you recall the shield, right, you lose the benefit for the shield being out.
Ends the ability.
Yeah, it's the same thing as that Bastet thing. So yeah, exactly. Ends the ability.
I look forward to it because I like being able to micromanage my cooldowns, and that's just a huge thing. Whether you're pushing lane, you want to bring it back because you're at tower, you're chilling. Like, I just like being able to micromanage when my cooldowns are happening, and that it's just a cool change. I like that. So. So another one that we leaked out onto the Twitterverse here, Odin up next.
Yes, surprise, we didn't leak all of them. We only got some of them because some of them are a little bit harder to actually see in practice. So here is the first one, Raven Shout. This is a shield. So this ability has always had this component of it that felt a little strange, where you get bonus damage when the shield's at full health. But that's the thing, it's kind of this binary on-off. You get hit by an archer minion, and you no longer get this benefit anymore. So we tried a couple of things, right? First, we tried shifting the actual threshold that you would get the extra benefit at, and we were like, well, it's not the clearest thing in the world to see. I don't really know as the Odin player, like when I'm hitting these thresholds. So we decided, okay, well, Bird Bomb is the classic combo. It's what every Odin player wants to do. So now you just always get this bonus damage when you Bird Bomb. If you don't get the bonus damage on the shield explosion. And again, it kind of makes him a little bit more consistent, but in a way that's very predictable. So again, a lot easier for us to balance and play around. You're not getting as many of those unpredictable situations where it feels like Odin's randomly doing a lot more damage than before.
Yeah.
Now you always know, I'm getting Bird Bomb, this is going to be doing more damage.
Yeah, I think a common complaint we ran into, and you kind of alluded to with the archer, is like if you're in the laning phase and you're trying to get this, full damage combo off, and you pop your shield, and all of a sudden an archer gets one auto on you because it decided to target you or something, you lose like that entire extra scaling, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to just make that more consistent, so you don't have to worry about those really weird fringe cases where it completely, hurts your ability to do what you want to do.
And like you said, the consistency helps us be able to, it makes it feel better for the player, and it helps us monitor it and say, all right, now that this is consistently happening, we can balance around it more consistently
Right.
as well.
Exactly.
So that was the first of two changes. So then there's the second change.
Yep.
Yeah, Skynear's Might, and we did actually, this is the one that we spoiled on social. So this ability, previous version, used to have 3 charges of it, where you would pulse once, pulse twice, pulse 3 times, and each one of those effects had a different kind of sub-effect that you would get depending on the amount of time that you charged for. So the first one, still exactly the same, attack speed buff for yourself and anyone in the range. Exactly the same. The second one previously was that you would get a homing projectile that would automatically hit the person that was closest to where you were aiming, which was nice, but a lot of people kind of unanimously agreed that this one was the least, important of the 3, because the third one, of course, is the stun.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, the Odin player wants a stun.
It also had a small window, right? Like the first one, if you want to get that off, right, you're kind of spam clicking really quickly. The third one, right, you get all the way to the end, you could just wait. That second one was always like in this awkward little spot where it's like most of the time, if you're in a certain engagement or certain situation, you might not even want or get to use it at the timing that you want to.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like issues with that second stage.
Yeah, in terms of really being able to maximize its use, and theoretically, the projectile is something that, I'm not trying to say like skill diff if you don't hit it, but it didn't seem like a very like cool or powerful effect to be like it's just a guaranteed hit. It's just something that we were seeing as generally undervalued, and like yes, we did see like some people discussing like, oh well, in axe meta it's really good, but we think that the trade-off that you're going to get for getting the stun faster and getting the damage out more consistently is going to be way better in the instances where you're actually hitting those things, which, cross your fingers you're hitting them, but you'll still be getting those procs assuming that you're hitting them.
Yeah, so that's a good change. And I mean, who doesn't want to stun more? I'm all for it.
Yes,
And I
and
think-
to clarify just one more thing, because I saw some discussion, you will still be able to indefinitely hold it. That was one thing that I saw some people questioning, if you could do that or not. Yes, you can still indefinitely hold it.
So, pocket it, hold it, walk down lane, really be menacing, throw it when you need to.
Yeah, let's just take a look at the video though, because I do want to bring this up so we can just take a little look at how it actually feels. So here's our attack speed stim like normal, and boom, that's the stun. It's it's such a big feels difference when you have that extra bit of like time between the guarantee of like being able to get to that stun and get to the place where you want to be, and it's also nicer that you don't have to channel this in the middle of the wave for that much longer.
Yeah, it tightens up the combo time a little bit, so you're able to more reliably combo into that stun if you need to out of a bird bomb or something. So rock and roll. So that is Odin, and yeah, we saw the feedback. We're gonna be keeping an eye on it like always. So y'all know that y'all are our favorite. We love when y'all tell us this is great and also terrible. Like, we listen to both. We like one of them more, but they're both equally valuable. So now we're away from birds and into spiders. Arachne and her cocoon.
So Arachne was a member of the previous Spicy Gang, you could say.
Spicy
She did get a previous change back, I believe it was in 10.9 around that point.
Yeah.
And that change, we felt like after reevaluating it after a couple patches of it being in the game, it just felt like it still wasn't hitting the mark that we had wanted it to hit, being a change that we wanted to make to this character. So what we're doing here is kind of a give and a take. The first thing that we're giving Arachne players is now you no longer need to hit consecutive basic attacks to actually get your stun off. Anytime that you hit the number of basic attacks that's required, which we'll get to that in a second, you will stun the character as long as you still have your stun available.
Yeah.
The attack speed is still decoupled, so no matter what, even if you use up your stun, you're still keeping your attack speed. But now it takes 3 successful basic attacks on a single target to stun versus 2. We also felt like when we did that change previously, it became a lot more frustrating and hard to react to for players against Arachne, and that was one thing that we wanted to keep an eye on. And as we've let it kind of simmer for a couple patches here, we've definitely felt like, especially for making this consistency change, we need to bring that back to 3.
That makes sense, and I like the ability now that you can weave it in, and if something breaks that auto attack chain, you don't have to worry about it. You can circle back, get those last couple auto attacks off, and sink it in, even if the chain was interrupted. So, rock and roll. Spider scary. Jing Qian up next with a big face in the chest.
This one might even be one of the craziest ones. Like we were talking about Terra, we were talking about Iset, we were talking about Agni. Bro, this change is crazy. This change is crazy.
It's big.
So we're giving Xing Qian a brand new effect on his passive, and we were kind of observing this character and how he's kind of been a little bit out of the meta. Well, I shouldn't say a little bit because we've given him buff after buff after buff, and he's just not been shown back up. And there's a lot of reasons why that's happening, but his passive we were observing is just kind of a little non-applicable in a lot of cases where you're just getting some extra HP 5. It's nice, it's extra sustain. It's not really, it doesn't feel like it's really impacting you all that much. And now it wouldn't feel like he's definitely impacting the situation. So we're giving him a brand new effect on Smoldering Rage, where anytime that he gains a stack, he's still doing that same stacking that you did before. Hit enemies, you get stacks up to 12. He gets temporary max health per stack. So he can kind of really lean into this kind of max health, sustain tank ideal almost. He's still keeping the HP 5. And on top of that, because he's keeping the HP 5, a lot of times he was overcapping because of his builds, but now you can do it on purpose because HP 5 is uncapped. You can have as much HP 5 as you want on this character specifically. It's been really, really fun to actually have this character kind of run around with. We've seen like 130 HP 5, 150 HP 5, and it's been a very different and unique way to play a tank, is having this kind of like sustained way where I need to keep hitting my attack so I keep getting this HP 5 back, but I'm just like, I'm tanking by being elusive, hitting enemies, and just still doing what I need to do as a tank, but I'm getting sustained back for doing that as well.
And we've tried many areas to like uncap certain attributes, and we've always found it, again, a lot of fun. It seems to help kind of evolve the game a little bit, and so we figured, HP 5 on a tank, like it kind of makes sense to give this a try, especially with Xing Qian because it fits his theming. Yeah,
he is the relentless one, so very relentless.
Very relentless, especially now.
There's also one other cool thing about this. Maximum health, we were kind of looking at the math behind it, where normally anytime, let's say you have 800 out of 1,000 health or something, right, and then suddenly your max health drops, it looks at what percentage of your health did you have based on your max health, what percentage of your health do you have, and it retains that when you go down in max HP. So if it reduces by max HP and you had 80%, then you retain 80% of the new max HP when you go back, which means you kind of lose some HP anytime max HP wears off or something. So with Xing Qian in particular, we wanted to make sure that he retained the benefit of the max HP that he gained in his current HP. So for example, right, if you, I think if you're at 2,600 out of 2,800, and all of a sudden your max HP drops to 2,600, you'll stay at 2,600 current HP. Whereas normally you would have dropped whatever, if the percent of that was, I don't know, let's say 90% or something, you would have dropped to 90% of 2,600.
So essentially,
pretty weird.
You can reduce the maximum health, and if it's gray health bar, it just moves closer towards the green.
Exactly.
So you maintain. That's really cool, actually. That's a very good clarification. So, all right, rock and roll. So we're down. We have 2 left.
Yep.
And Shiva's up next.
Yes, Shiva. This was a very fun one. I have heard many a complaint and seen many a clip of a Shiva stopping short on a wall, but no longer will that be the case. The first part of Pillar of Dawn previously had a component where you could aim it, and when it came to the interactions with walls, no matter how far away you were pointing it, it would always stop you immediately on the wall whenever you came into collision with it, which was very frustrating for a lot of Shiva players because you were losing a lot of distance, and I assume you were about to say it didn't feel very intuitive.
Yeah, it didn't feel natural, like compared to a lot of other dashes where you slide against the wall. It didn't. It always seemed weird that you just all of a sudden would stop.
Yeah, dead stop.
Exactly. But we understand that one of the most important parts about Shiva is that he's using this ability kind of as a damage mitigation. Like, let's say there's a Cuckoo ult coming down straight for you. Well, I can hop into Pillar of Dawn and be totally fine. So now that you're kind of forced to be in this longer dash, we wanted to make sure that you weren't losing that damage mitigation part of it. So you are keeping the damage mitigation during the dash part. So now, even though you're forced to kind of take a little bit more time to get into the pillar, you are still going to get that damage mitigation immediately on using your dash.
Yeah, wow. That's huge, like you said, because that allows you to take that longer dash without the consequences of not being in the pillar right away.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Cool. I mean, overall, just a good thing. And last but not least, we're at the end, and it's Athena.
Yes, this is another recipient of a previous spicy change.
Yeah.
And so, especially because post that change, it's been a bit of a nerf city for Athena. We wanted to make sure that this was kind of a bit of a change that unlocked a new kind of loop in her kit versus strictly making her better. So Athena's like big identity outside of her taunt and global ult, of course, is her block stacks.
Yeah.
So although she no longer is getting block stacks, which inherently means that you're no longer losing any procs, any like Pele ults or anything that of that nature that are enhancing your basic attacks, you're not losing that proc anymore as the enemy.
Yeah.
You, as the Athena, are instead getting 60% damage mitigation per stack of that preemptive strike that you have. So no longer are you getting block stacks, but you are also going to be able to get these stacks from reach now. So anytime that you're using reach, if you hit a god with it once per reach, so you can't like multi-stack this if you're hitting a whole line of gods or whatever it might be. Every time that you have a reach, you have an opportunity to get a stack of 60% damage mitigation from the next basic attack damage that you take. So again, you are losing something as Athena. You're not keeping these block stacks, which as a character that does take basic attack damage pretty frequently because you're taunting them at you, it does make it a bit, difficult for her in that instance. But we think that we are spreading out the love as so much more, and the Athena player herself is also getting this extra little mini game to play. How many mitigation stacks can I get any particular time? Because one thing that we were noticing was that she frequently, so her passive meter has the 3 shields on it, which represents the block stacks that you had. But here's the thing, if you were only getting them from preemptive strike, you're only really often sitting with 1 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So giving her more ways to get these stacks but making them less powerful felt like a new fun loop that this character could have that's not directly involved around her taunting, which, is her kind of bread and butter. We wanted to give her more agency in terms of playing around it in a different way. But again, want to emphasize, Athena's good right now, so we nerfed her as well. Shield Wall is getting a decreased slow from 20 to 15%. This is just kind of another kind of tap in that direction where we understand Athena's very strong.
Yeah.
We're giving her something new, something fun to play with, but we want to make sure that, we're keeping an eye on her.
Yeah, keep her from being that global powerhouse that we all know she can be. So, wow. That was
I can't believe that's it. But that is it.
It's been a lot. Y'all have poured a crazy amount of work into that stuff. I just the amount of feedback rounds and talking to people and decisiveness y'all have had to go through, and it was a lot. There are changes in there that would occasionally pop up, once every couple updates that y'all just did a whole batch of, and it's crazy to see. So I commend you for that. But I also turn again to the community. Like, y'all saw the type of stuff that we're doing, that we're looking at for this update. It's a lot of stuff. It's how can we make things feel better, not just balance-wise, but gameplay-wise. So, I would very much like to a call to action, if you will, to say, try these out. Try out the new changes. Let us know how you feel about them after you've tried them out, and let us know how your favorite character feels. Is your favorite character somebody that's been around for a long time and maybe could benefit from 100 millisecond nudge in the right animation direction or something? Because we're looking at this kind of stuff now, and the team is just doing incredible work in that. So again, I applaud y'all, because that is a lot of really intense changes we just talked about, and y'all have been crushing it with this stuff. So.
Yeah, this was definitely a big goal for us this patch, was to give a pretty big section of the God roster something new to at least try and look out for.
Yeah.
And I mean, just in this quality of life and major changes was between 30 gods. Well, if you add in just the regular balance, that's 5 more. If you add in the item changes, and how many gods those affect, it's a huge shift up that we're hoping that people really enjoy.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, I think we're on the path to Smite 2. We're giving everything a critical eye. We want things to be fun. That is at the core of everything we do. We want it to be fun because that's what it's all about, you know? So again, I applaud y'all for all of that. And if you stuck around for this whole show, because it's been a lot of show, I applaud you and thank you for being here because it's been a blast talking about all of this with y'all. So now that we're at the end, to recap everything we talked about, Smite 2 Founders Editions are on the way. They're coming soon. I don't have an exact date for you yet, but they are on the way. Keep your eyes open. We'll get them to y'all literally as soon as we can. As soon as we have all of the checkboxes done, we're going to be like, please, everybody. Like, we want to get ready to have y'all in these early alpha testing stages. So keep your eye out on all of your favorite platforms for those Founders Editions as they launch, and pick up whichever one you feel will serve you best for our future in Smite 2. Make sure to link those accounts. I'm going to say that again because, you know, like, we want you to have all of this stuff. We ain't hooking you up with all these legacy gems and cross-gen skins for you to not have them in Smite 2. So make sure you're linking up those accounts. And then, you know, in the Smite 1 world, all of this will be dropping next week, but PTS should be going live sometime soon. Could be up in the next 5 minutes, could be a little longer. Just keep your eyes on Twitter. You know, we'll put it out there. We'll let y'all know when the doors are open. And I believe that we have a Dev Insight show after this as well.
Yeah.
So make sure that y'all stick around for that after the break to ask any questions you have. That was a lot of crazy balance we just went over.
Yeah,
so
for
if you have
sure.
any questions or, you know, suggestions, make sure to stick around and ask all of those because you're going to have Lermy along with a couple other folks ready to talk about them. And, you know, they always have good things to say and good insight to provide. So, again, thank y'all for sticking around. It's been an amazing show. Looking forward to Smite 2 and Update 11.3. And, yeah, we'll see y'all next time. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, welcome everyone into the Dev Insight. It's Gormizer. I got Trelly. Oh my God, I'm blanking immediately. Lermy.
What?
And then of course Chaos sitting over there. No, my mind. I've gotten so used to going through the same four names because every single content piece that we've done for the last like 3 weeks has just. And so I looked at you and went to say Mifflin, and I'm like, that is very obviously not Mifflin. And just because that's what my brain wants to say doesn't mean it's the right thing to say. No, we got Chaos and Lermy who are sitting by to help dive a little bit more into what it's hard to believe dive a little more into. It was a very lengthy patch notes,
Yes, exactly.
but the update that had just come through. So you in chat right now, we've all got these little guys. Ask questions, and we'll get word directly from the fountain of knowledge. So you can know when things are. Lermy, I'll start with I think hopefully an easy opener.
Oh yeah.
Which is what kind of inspired this one to be so full of changes.
So we've thought a long time about a lot of these characters, and one of the most popular kind of posts that we see online are ways to change characters' kits in some way or another, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just something people like to think about. People play Smite for the characters, so we want to make sure that when we are adjusting characters, we want to give them new, fun things to interact with beyond items, beyond the map, beyond the numbers, right? What does this character play like, and how fun can they be, right? And we have 130 gods, right?
It's a lot.
So many.
Over 11 plus years at this point of Smite history, and there's got to be something in there that's not feeling right. Not every god is the most popular in the game. Not every god has their full potential fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they do, maybe they don't a little bit. We just kind of wanted to see what we could do. This was a lot of experimentation. These were ideas that came over multiple patches, and just a lot of ideas from a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome to get a lot of collaboration from our ambassadors and other people that got to play test this internally as well. And it was just a really, really awesome experience to see the reactions to people when they got to play these changes for the first time, and just how I don't know, excited they were.
Mm-hmm.
It really felt like we were breathing fresh air to a lot of these characters that have been around for anywhere between a year to 10 years.
And there are some where it's like Kali's alt change, right? Where it's just like, hey, now you can move. And it's something that when you think about it, or in 2 weeks, right, when people are used to it, it's gonna feel like second nature.
Yeah, exactly.
But then that concept of oh my God, wait a minute, quality of life changes, really actually making a big difference.
Yeah.
It's pretty massive. I'm curious, from the programming standpoint, were there any that were brought to you where you were like, oh my God, this is going to be a pain?
No, it's funny actually, because both Lermy and I were in a lot of the meetings kind of being the ones to originate or ideate on this, right? Because I've been personally playing Smite for well over a decade now. And so a lot of these were also just very close kind of passion ideas for myself of just so many things over the years that I experienced that were like, hey, I feel like this could be better, or have we looked at this more closely, little different things like that you pick up on, and you're like, now I'm finally in a position where I could do something about it. Let's try and do something about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think anything in particular was too challenging programming side. I mean, maybe some of the Cthulhu changes, just making sure that, removing it from a channel back to more of a cast, that requires a little bit of difference there. Assets was relatively straightforward. It was mostly just timings, kind of animation change. I don't think any were too particularly. I think Xing Tian probably had the most new tech, I think, from what I remember, because his uncapped HP 5 is completely new. Right, we didn't have that in the game before, so that's completely new. And then also the concept of retaining that max HP whenever you have your max HP reduced, retaining your current health, making sure that it stays at that same value. That's also new, since that across the board on any other item, if you buy an item and sell an item or whatever, you'll always retain that percentage. Whereas with him, it's specifically to his passive, it retains that current HP.
Now, Trelly, I'm kind of curious, and this is I did preface this before we came in here. I was going to ask you this, so I hope you were paying attention.
Oh, I wasn't.
What is your favorite change? Do you have one that stands
I
out
thought
to
you meant paying attention to you.
Oh.
To the patch notes, of course.
Yeah.
No,
No, you're not going to pay attention to me. I was doing nothing.
I was going to say, I don't remember what you said at all. I got to say, I'm excited about the changes like, Agni, for example, being able to move all, casting his ult, and then also the Cthulhu one. Those sort of fluidity changes, I think. Just being able to do a little bit more damage, like Cthulhu, not being able to hit your blue buff while you're 2 casting, that's always annoying. There's those little things that just make the characters more fun. I miss playing Cthulhu. I miss playing some Agni, and now I'll just be able to jump back. And as you said, in 2 weeks, it's going to be I can't believe this was ever not a thing. I wasn't able to move.
Yeah, if we had a Smite Wayback Machine, you'd hate it.
Yep, wouldn't use it. Wouldn't use it one bit.
I'm a I will admit I'm kind of biased, like, and Xingqian, like, I feel almost cheap because I'm latching onto something that was already talked about, but like, that's not my class. That's the class I play, and I'm really excited to see how he feels, because I think it was weird in a lot of the playtests. I got to play against a lot of some of these changes. Like, I remember playing against Odin, and like, I had a good time in lane. It felt like I was playing against Odin, which at the end of the day is what we wanted. I don't think I ever got to feel that change, and I'm like, so I'm excited to grab some of these. But I'm curious for both of you, if you have one that was like, when you incepted it, you were like, this is going to be the one that I'm most excited for.
Yeah, it's tough for me. I kind of pass it on to you so I can talk about it.
I think the Ascent one was probably the biggest one, because there's so many years. Again, like I said, back in the day, I used to play against like Mesa to face a lot, who would grind a set, right? just shove lane in, go for jungle camps over and over. And Ascent was very strong back then, and it was a really interesting. Whenever she's in the game, I find it very interesting. But I just think over time, it always felt like that one just wasn't kind of hitting the mark that you're looking for when you're playing, because like there's so many other characters who can do what that one does, but better, right? It's either their burst is stronger, their mobility is better, right? Like she's kind of this in between where in certain ways she's not hitting the marks in terms of mobility. If that Wingust is priming speed, she's not really hitting the marks in terms of mobility compared to like Agni and Scylla. And then in terms of damage, right, she's not hitting the burst of like Vulcan or Poseidon. So it just felt right to finally kind of like just speed up that one, because that's been something that we've talked about before in the past. And finally, like getting to interact with it in game, it feels so nice when you like spirit ball somebody, you actually get to get multiple shots of your one off before they get unstunned, and you get to like actually confirm your burst off of setup and CC. It feels like a whole different character.
Yeah, I will say, having tested ESET with her new animation and going back to the old one, I'm like, how has it ever been this way? It's so crazy how natural it feels too. And you'd think like speeding it up by 25%, like it seems like that would be pretty insignificant, but in terms of animation, that is pretty significant. You're losing out on a little bit more of that like frame that you're getting, like frame by frame animation, but it still feels fluid. It still looks as beautiful as it has looked ever since she got her remodel. I mean, it looks amazing, and it feels really fluid. But for me, I don't know, man. I'm also kind of along the lines of Xingqian. I'm really excited by the like kind of sustained tank kind of style that we don't really have. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out and how unique he feels now.
Hopefully, I can do something useful with him. That's what it's just. I always feel really good in certain matchups, and then most of the time, I always feel he gives me, and this is a lot with this is just a support player complaining about support life, which is, man, I just guided you guys to water. Please, for the love of, just take a drink, do something, and we'll see what it is.
You're asking a lot.
Yeah. Sometimes, look, hey, here's a guy. He's 10% HP. He's not moving anymore. Just please hit him with one thing. Some people, it's a lot to ask. It's a lot to hope for. But I do think we have a question from chat that we can throw up and see exactly. I wonder where it's going to be, which is the big question for me. But once that's up there we go. Paraphrase: after reviewing the data, are there any plans to bring back /4v4?
This is actually a very, very good question. So kind of, we reviewed the data, and I know that our data goat, Max, made a post about this on Twitter. There really was a pretty significant downturn in like the amount of people interacting with the mode, especially as like the 2-week period that we had it out went on. And we did see that people did, like the individuals that did really like the sort of 4v4 style modes did enjoy it while I had it. It is something that we could consider bringing back maybe as a daily, not daily, but weekly match of the day or something like that. We could kind of throw it in the rotation there, but I don't think that it will be a permanent mode. The data has been pretty convincing in terms of the fact that yes, 5v5 / was just the more kind of interactive mode for the populace.
I think one of the core metrics that we get to see, right, is, when somebody's playing / what do they do afterwards, right? Do they re-queue / do they go into a different mode? And I think there were very clear deltas that showed switching to /4v4 kind of had people moving away from the mode after they tried it, right? They would try it one, and then they would immediately start queuing into something else or doing something else. And you can see that decrease kind of in the data. So that was also another pretty strong metric that supported the idea that we should go back to 5v5.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember, and I'm 95% certain it was on Max's Twitter, which is at Innocent Rabbit. With an underscore? Does it have an underscore? I can't remember. Maybe with an underscore, maybe not. But it's at Innocent Rabbit otherwise. And one of the things that had kind of blown my mind was that we can also track like not just where like, oh hey, you queued into Conquest afterward, or like this guy played it and went to Arena, but there were some where it was like this amount of people like logged off afterward, where it's like, ooh, that's not a thing that we would like to see. Like we like it when you're having fun and playing in the game. So yeah, I like that. I like the idea of it recurring as like a potential match of the day.
Fun side mode that you can get every so often, but yeah, there was pretty conclusive
sprinkled
evidence.
in. Yeah,
I think we want to embrace too the idea of like running sort of experiments like this, right? Because we do want to make the game better. Everything we're trying to do, right, is just to make the game better. And I think sometimes there are like changes that are a little bit more, aggressive, where we're trying to get a lot more data out of it. We need to get that sort of data, and I think there's room to kind of be dynamic in sort of, hey, it's exciting to try something new. It might not stick, and we're going to learn a lot if it does or doesn't. And if it does end up sticking, then we did a great job attempting this thing to try to get it into the game.
And speaking of constantly improving the game, Domination's back, baby. I'm excited for it. Was there, especially like when looking towards, I guess, Clash coming in a little bit ago, Domination coming in, this next one, was there any like correlation between the two, or was it just one was an interesting experiment and then the other one's a classic coming back?
Yeah, essentially we're trying to kind of have something new for modes every so often, right? So you'll see that, maybe in this patch we'll do a little bit for, well, I guess last patch it was Slash. This patch is Domination, and it could be any of the other modes coming up at any point, right? We want to keep an eye on what our players are kind of looking for across the board, because Smite players do play a variety of different modes. The majority of our players do like to play a variety. So what's going to kind of be a significant enough change to want to bring people and drive them to a new mode that they haven't really been to very often, or one that they kind of ignore? There's kind of the question of, okay, what is like the factor that it will take to make them kind of try this new thing. And so again, like Chaos was saying, we want it to be a little bit extreme, but it's hard to do extreme after extreme after extreme when there's only so many game modes, and we don't want to also be disruptive at the same time. So we want to make sure that the changes that we're making are really value adds and worthwhile experiments too. So we definitely understood that there has been, specifically for Slash, to kind of go back to that, a lot of feedback that like, hey, we are missing like a siege style like 4v4 mode, and we were like, okay, we'll try it. We'll see what happens. And we did, and we got our data, and unfortunately it does look like the siege gamers will need to wait for the siege match of the day. So they do come around, and believe me, I love a good siege match, but the data is just pretty solid. But back to Domination.
I was gonna say, you gave me Domination so I can be less upset about siege now.
Domination is another mode that used to be a permanent mainstay in Smite, and then we removed it. We brought it back for an adventure. We brought it back again after doing some smaller changes. But this, I think, honestly, in the history of every change we've made for Domination, this is probably the biggest set of changes that we have ever done in, I don't know when Domination was introduced, but like I want to say like the 9 years that Domination has existed. And so we're hoping that really this like big set of changes is going to make the mode more intuitive, and really it plays very differently to Domination previously. So if you guys are even remotely interested in another kind of 5v5 kind of capture the point mode, or you've played Domination before, give it a go again. It feels very different, and it feels a lot more dynamic now than it has before.
Well, that's one of the things that was getting adjusted while we were playtesting it a lot, was like, hey, how much like the gold spooling, right? The experience spooling, where it was like numbers from way back just didn't feel as good. And now like we fine-tuned it to the point where it's like length is where you want it, like scaling, everything like that. I will say, as a preface, Lancelot, at least when Mifflin was playing it, felt bad. he was a real rude dude because he was everywhere, but that also could just be Mifflin being a rude dude. I did hear, I think that we have a question up and ready.
Let's get in.
And so did some of these changes get more focus due to notices when porting to Smite 2?
Yes, not particularly.
I want to say no. Yeah, I think in general, one thing that we wanted to be aware of is like what kinds of changes people are kind of wanting, and then there's the difference of what can we do in Smite 2. It's just different across the board when it comes to the kinds of things that we can make, the new tech that UE5 does bring, and also it's just kind of a new kind of place in general, right? So a lot of these changes, they might not stick around for Smite 2. It kind of depends on where we end up, what the community thinks of these changes in general, and if they like them, or if maybe we have some new tech going to XYZ character in Smite 2. We want to replace whatever mechanic with a different one. That might also happen.
Yeah.
It really could be a variety of things, honestly, that happens in Smite 2. And I would say, nothing is guaranteed.
Yep, I think these changes in particular, again, a strong emphasis of just how long we've been playing the game, and as users who still want to log in every day and play, right? It's just how can we make this game better? How can we make things more fluid, more fun, again, more exciting? That's really the heart of where these changes were coming from.
Yeah.
There's two in chat that I've seen that I'm kind of curious of. Which one it stands out to me mainly because it's not something that I would have ever thought to ask to begin with, which is just looking into wall collisions on like other maps, right? I know because like Domination, there was a lot that had to go into it.
Yeah.
Has there been any conversation about like, oh, you know what? Maybe we take another look at Assault. Maybe we take another look at like Arena and see what's going on.
Yeah, so usually with those kind of passes, that'll come up when we do those kinds of changes. Yep. And some maps we have done that for and just not really mentioned it. This time it was a pretty big and, kind of all-encompassing pass. So that's why we kind of decided to do that. But with other modes, if there is like a specific place, that seems to be giving people trouble, like please feel free to
let us know.
Send screenshots, clips, whatever you feel comfortable with to us. Let us know, give us the feedback, and we'd be more than happy to go and clean that up. But yeah, I mean, it generally happens when we come across them. And again, let us know if you're running into them.
I can give an example because this is before I worked here. I was playing Siege. There was a very small sliver of wall over like looking one of the chasms where if you hit it with a Ho-Yi bounce, it went down actually instead of coming back out. And every now and then I would hit that spot and I thought I was going insane until finally I loaded it up and I was like, okay, no. And then like 2 patches later, that was fixed and I was a very happy camper. And so if you find something, clip it, find it, record it. OBS is free. The other one that stood out to me was just, is there any idea of adding more modes that have like random gods or rerolls, trading, things like that? I don't know how that would work unless you just made it all random.
I mean, you can kind of do that in customs, right? I think the one thing that makes Assault so like well suited for the mode is just how like restricted it is as a game mode and like the kind of conditions that you're put into that makes it feel a lot more fair. If it's all random conquest and you roll up with 4 Guardians and an Assassin, you are not having a good time.
No.
In Assault, it doesn't really matter as much because you are limited into kind of a much smaller, concise area. You all are getting access to the same resources. It's not really that much big of a deal versus like a mode like that. It is things that you kind of can do kind of on your own time and in space and custom matches, if you want to do that. That is a very fun thing to do, and a lot of match of the days have that. Like Grab Bag is a really good example. All in Arena is also random. And then, of course, one of our most popular modes out there is all out Assault.
Yeah.
It's Assault, but you can pick. Yep. And everyone can pick the same character.
I'll pick, baby.
There is a lot of excitement around
4 new walls.
The reverse of it as well, even though, sometimes you do get into the situation where they pick, 5 Hells or 5 Rods is really fun. That's a personal favorite of mine, just Snipe Squad. But you can kind of see like.
But being on the receiving end, when it's 5 Raws and you get hit by all 5 snipes, like you're the one.
I go. You guys, you did what you came out to do. Congratulations.
In my experience, they just miss all 5 snipes, though. That's what usually happens.
Well, see, Trelly, you're good at Smite.
I don't juke. I just stand there, and everyone predicts the juke, and they just miss.
I'm gonna tell, and that's the thing. You recognize, you have that correlation. You know that the best juke is to not juke because most people are thinking he's gonna go left or right.
Good point. I didn't think about that.
Exactly. You're just thinking you're playing chess. That's the problem.
Understood.
I am kind of curious. Oh, realistically, the short answer is play the match of the day. Click over. There's like I know you've got the screen that has 4 modes. Just click one over, and then boom, you're gonna have it wide open. There was one that I saw that stood out to me, and mainly as there it is. Considered adding an extra slot for the runic bomb, where like you have consumable. That might be very difficult now that I'm thinking about it and said it out loud.
I think the biggest challenge is there, especially with the way that we've set up, inputs on console and different things, right? It's hard to add an extra input. Right? It's a big challenge because there's already so many buttons that are used for so many different things. And at least with the way that we have kind of Smite 1 set up right now and the way that we've gotten people used to the control scheme and stuff, I think it would be a little bit challenging to try and add a whole extra slot. Especially just because of the way you would have to use it with that input or whatever. I think on PC it's a lot more easier because you can just add an extra button.
Yeah.
But for a lot of controllers and stuff, that button's missing.
We've already maxed out like as much as we possibly can. I will, and I want someone. Charlie, you probably would know this the best.
Lay it on me.
Which is just someone. They mentioned 5v5s, 4v4s, 3v3s, 1v1s. There is like match of the day is like 2v Tuesday is like a thing, right? Like it's literally on Tuesdays. The match of the day is 2v2 modes.
They've got Until Death. They've got Joust the Two of Us. They've got
Dual Siege.
Yep, Dual Siege. Is that all of them?
That's at least 3 though. Like,
wait, did I say? Is it called Death Till Death Do Us Part? What's it called? Until Death. Yeah.
Till Death.
Yeah.
That's the assault one.
Yeah. So there's plenty of 2v2, but what's the question?
Oh, it was just is there a chance a 2v2 game mode would be added to Smite? And I was just like, there's
Always Tuesday.
There's 2v2 modes there.
They're in there, baby. Just find them.
Just go play them.
Yep.
And as for I'll throw this out up front, which is as of right now, a lot of like testing stuff like starts on Conquest, then usually translates to other things. Mm-hmm. But I cannot think of a world where a 2v2 on a map that big would ever be.
I don't know how you would do that, honestly. That's just
you
so
cry. You just wouldn't see anybody.
There is a mode called Shorthanded though, where it's 3 people on Conquest, and that's pretty fun.
That one is very fun because you each get your own lane. You don't have to worry about like jungler cringe ganking you 2 minutes into the game.
But just imagine being the minions that like aren't getting cleared. You're just like, what's going on, man? We're like, it's like 6 minutes.
We're just like
and
having a normal war here. What the heck? Where are the gods at?
It's the best to practice an early game where you don't have to stress about anything, but also not a duo lane because you don't have a duo over there. It's just 1v1s.
That's true.
Yeah.
Charlie, this is going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to apologize immediately if you flounder because of it.
I would never.
Do you have any questions after looking through the patch that you're like, I want to know more about this?
I mean, the thing is, right, the beauty of us being a little bit involved in the process is I got to hear these changes beforehand, and sometimes I get to ask Laramie, what are you cooking? And then sometimes I get to say, okay, that's why. And now that we've seen the finished product, I guess it's a few questions. Things like, when it comes to quality of life, right, like Bastet Jump, for example, I think of, Shock Axe, and I think it's kind of similar. Are we trying to do this for like every character that has abilities like that, or is it really just niche situations where, like Bastet, you wanted to get that cooldown immediately back, but Shock, there's mind games, right? Because sometimes you could teleport, sometimes you could train it into the slow. There's a lot of different abilities there, but is this just these were niche examples where you thought that these changes would work best, or are you still looking at the other cast of characters?
Yeah, so we're always keeping our eyes out for a lot of these related changes as well, and more places that we could kind of implement them. There are some characters that have a little bit more challenge when it comes to actually finding like that solid implementation that everyone can agree on and feels like is really, really potent and, feels like the right thing to do, right? A lot of these kind of had to go through a very, strenuous iteration process to where we were like, okay, can we even do this, number 1? Number 2, is this the right thing for us to be doing even if we can do it? And then number 3, now that we're testing it, do we still feel like this is the right thing to do?
Should we have done it?
Are we still feeling good about this?
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a 4th step in there where you're doing a little slight changes, like Agni was a good example, or one day you'd come in and it's kind of a little insight into our process. But the first time that we ever tested Agni, he had no slow on him because we just had to get him in the one day, and we just didn't have the time to put in the slow. It was just, let's test it, see how it feels, and we were like, nope. Instantly, nope. And then the next couple of days after that, we tested a lot of different slow values. We went back and forth a couple times. We A/B tested. Sometimes we didn't even tell people what the slow value was, just to see their reaction when they felt it and what inherently felt right to them.
Right.
So with that character especially, it was a lot of that 4th step, which was the iteration and kind of testing and doing a lot of the in between, finding the perfect spot for it. Because you can only do so much on paper, right? You can say, I want to unroot Agni, and then we go, okay, how? And then they go, I don't know. Is that not your job? And then I go, yeah, it's my job. But, you have to think about that part when you're...
for sure.
I know. I'm going to... And you know what? I'll answer it because I know the same answer would come out of, I think, every single mouth on the couch. But someone was saying, why wait for, match of the day to play 2v2? First off, 4v4 is also currently now tied to match of the day again. So that's the only one. But also... the same thing we said about the /4v4 earlier applies to literally any other mode. And so if 2v2 was less popular or would be less popular, it also detracts from all the other queues if people are going to it.
It's a very delicate balance.
Match of the day.
Right? Because it kind of has to do with a little bit in terms of the more technical matchmaking. side of it as well, because there is, ideally you have as many people in a queue as possible at the same time to get as good of a match as you can. You get a nice range of people from all kinds of places and get them as close as possible, right? But the less people you have in that queue, they tend to be further and further apart. So if you split up a population into a bunch of queues, it starts to get a little bit kind of iffy in terms of what that difference is going to be between player, levels and skill levels and all of that stuff. So again, it's a very, very delicate balance in terms of the number of modes that we have and, the timing of those modes and what, is acceptable for our player base and what they feel like the matchmaking standard generally is. And we keep a very close eye on that, like what they do after kind of metric. Because again, we don't necessarily want people to log out. Of course, people have to log out at some point, right? Like that's just how the game is. But
and like life, usually.
Like, you have to log off at some point. That's the internet, I guess. But again, there's a very fine line when people start to get upset and feel like things are not really working. They're not giving the matches that they want to be in. And so the more that you upset that balance by adding in new modes or taking out modes that people want to play, it starts to get a little bit fishy.
And there was a period of time where there were a ton of game modes.
Yeah.
And every single wait timer was atrocious because it was just like you had 10 different game modes, including like match of the day and stuff. And it's just like, cool, I'm just sitting here, queue simulator. And like not even like the ranked queue simulator where like it's going to result in a better matchup. It's like it's just grabbing 10 available dudes and throwing them in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw someone say, too many queues and the wait time will suck. You've nailed it. This is almost like a rehash of a question I had asked earlier, but it's different enough, which is there anything not that you're excited for, but excited for people to get their hands on in this patch that like you're really excited to see what people think and how they maybe utilize it?
I really want to see Cthulhu.
Yeah, I was going to say Cthulhu as well. Yep.
I'm so excited to see because that character, he's so cool, right? And he was like one of the most popular releases in recent history, right? Just because he's such a big name across pop culture and media in general.
The multiverse,
Yeah, the multiverse. But yeah, it's just such a cool character that a lot of people want to play. But then you go and play him, and in his current state at least, and you go, oh, okay, he feels, there are those times like Charlie was describing, like you're blue buff, you're just sitting there kind of waiting. And we were like, how do we take this time that you're spending kind of doing nothing and give you more agency, more ability to play into those combos that he really wants to do. His kit wants him to do these things.
Yep.
But he just didn't have the tools. Well, now he does.
Like, bro's so powerful, but he's sitting here going like this on his blue buff, and I'm like, just hit it while you're doing that. And you didn't ask me, Gore, but I'm going to tell you what I'm excited about.
Yeah, please do.
I'm going to be in duo lane. I'm going to lock in the Croc, right?
Yeah.
And there's going to be some nerd that picks Ymir and thinks he's so slick, and he didn't read patch notes, he wasn't paying attention, and he's going to try to wall me off, and I'm going to swim under his wall, and he's going to be floored. And I can't wait for that to happen.
It's also going to absolutely confuse that Thor that's playing in the same lobby who comes over to your...
Did I say Thor?
No, you said Ymir, but I'm adding another god with a wall to the list.
Odin, Thor, and
he throws,
Ymir.
Ymir
Odin,
throws up
Thor,
his
and
wall,
Ymir
and he's
all
like,
ready
what?
to wall.
And then Thor goes for it, and he's like, what?
And then I'm just lurking in the waters.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to laugh at them as I swim away. That's what I'm most excited for.
That's what you're most excited for?
Yeah, for sure. That exact interaction, that will happen.
And how many games of Sobek are you going to have to stream in a row until you get that exact interaction?
Until enough. You said some people have to log off, not me.
Yeah, good. Yeah, you know what? You're not wrong. How many? Okay, so that's level 5, Charlie.
Yep.
Now you've put me in scenario mode.
Okay.
How many deaths up to that point do you think you're going to eat from a Ymir wall?
None.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're right. It's you. I should have.
Yeah, I'm built different.
That's on me.
But I do want to make him look foolish.
And you will. Absolutely. He's going to feel foolish.
There might be times where, you face plant into a wall, but the one time...
The one time that it works.
He's just going to see me swim under. He's going to be like, oh, that's what he's been trying to do.
What you really need to go for is the Ymir wall to, block you out from, a Gold Fury or a Fire Giant, and then you lurking in the waters in. That dude, he'll be frozen. He'll be stun locked mentally.
And he can't freeze me because I'm in the water.
Exactly. You're CC immune. You're set.
Yep.
But if he tried, well, actually, okay, Laramie, hold on. Spicy change. Ymir can now freeze Sobek in his ult, and only that because he's in the water and it's ice.
Okay, but then Agni should
Spicy
tell-
changes, elemental
Oh, God.
damage and interactions.
This is why we
Agni
never-
is weaker to water god.
This is
I'll-
why we
I'll write it on
never
my
let
list.
Gore cook.
4-point font.
There was I can't remember what it was. We even mentioned it at lunch. Every now and then Laramie will give a suggestion that's like I'll say on the line of like an acceptable change, right? And then everyone else's reaction is to let's take this and like bring it back to where it should be, rein it in a little bit. I always decide, no, let's see how far we can go with that. Like what if, I think I've pitched this on at least 6 different gods. What if they just like could blink during their ultimate? And I'm just like, yeah, just like Ymir. What if he just moved around?
We have talked about that, and that's
And I
kind
get
of like
told
a
no
bit- a
every
very interesting
time.
topic though, because a lot of the times we will start with very extreme situations and pare it back, right? And that's just to get people's brains rolling. Like when you tell them, I want to give XYZ character like 5% power, you go, okay, whatever. But when you tell them, I want to make Agni move when he ults, everyone goes, oh my god, he can move when he ults. That's crazy. Wait, we have to talk about this. So starting out somewhere, something that sounds a little ridiculous, and then bringing it back to something, okay, that sounds a little more sane.
Yeah.
You know, that's just kind of the insanity of design a little bit.
Look, all I'm saying is someone jokingly said now Neith can move when she ults, and I think that would look hilarious.
I don't know. She like crouch. I don't know how she.
Yeah,
can
she
do it, by the
kneels.
way.
Vibes, and then she just walks on her toes, and she just goes around the
Toes.
corners. She's very slow, but she can just move just.
No, I like
a
the
bit.
idea of keeping the animation from like the waist up the exact same, so it's like super rigid, but then her legs still work the way that they would normally. It just looks.
I don't know how you.
It would
you
look
as a human,
monstrous.
Like, can walk from that low. You
Well,
know
she's
what I mean?
she's a goddess,
She's a
so
goddess.
she'll figure it
Yeah.
out.
Well, a humanoid.
Humanoid. I'll steal some questions from chat instead of asking goofy things. Yeah. Oh no, it moved. There we go. Will we continue to see major rebalances to popular discussed abilities / kits throughout the year?
We certainly want to do more. That's not to say that we guarantee at any point that they will happen, but it's stuff that we are continuing to keep in mind and be on the hunt for if there's any more characters that we feel like we could do things along these lines to. We definitely have, eyes on some more things that we want to keep testing, and we're in the testing process for, so definitely, yes. I don't know when.
Yeah, yes, but TBD.
I think it's important to point out too, right? We don't want to just make change for change's sake, right? Like,
Exactly.
so we have to, as we kind of look across the board and look at these sort of abilities, we have to ask ourselves, right? Is this going to strictly add value to the game, right? And does this kind of like pass that test? And so that's kind of the metric that makes it maybe challenging to do all the changes that many people can think of and all these other things, but there are some that really stick out as like, oh yeah, no, this will objectively make this character feel better. We can have some tests internally that prove that concept, and let's go ahead and maybe ship that out the door.
Yeah, exactly.
Now for the trap second half of that question, which is, were there any gods, well, I don't know if it's really that much of a trap, were there any gods that you wanted to change but decided not to?
Ooh.
There were some that we had to push later.
Yes.
And we can't spoil that.
Yeah, we're not spoiling that. No. You guys.
But now you know that they will be potentially, maybe,
month.
some later.
Yeah, come back next month to find out. But yeah, it's stuff that we are constantly iterating through, constantly talking with our ambassadors as well. That's another very important point. Is we've got a wonderful, wonderful group of content creators and other individuals that have come by to our tests very often, or even just read. Posts that we'll put out to them and say, hey guys, what do you think about XYZ thing? And they've been absolutely instrumental in keeping us rolling in terms of, finding these new things to do, and also feeling like we're getting a part of the community involved in approving these changes as well.
And there's one, and this one I think is actually really interesting because I had never considered it. But specifically adjustments that happened for Domination coming back.
Yeah.
It says the shutdowns are now worth more tickets than just getting a normal kill. And they're curious if that's something that we could see translated to like the arena ticket system potentially in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think I don't even think it was on the patch note show, but there's actually the arena wave spawn system is now in Domination.
It was on
Oh,
it.
yeah.
We just didn't specifically talk about it.
right,
but
okay.
yes.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the tickets themselves, it's definitely something that we can discuss. We do know that shutdowns are definitely a very potent mechanic in general, especially when it comes to snowball and anti-snowball and how it feels to be that person ahead. We do want to make sure that there is like comeback mechanics. Right?
Exactly,
People feel
yeah.
like they have a chance to come back, but we also don't want to overly punish the people that are playing well, right? Because if you're getting onto these.
Sorry, someone in chat said make Achilles' lore accurate so he only takes damage from the back of his foot, and I couldn't.
From one specific spot. Yeah, we can probably do that.
Because called shots in Smite. I'm hitting the ankle.
That's such a gore thing to bring up.
Dude, I wasn't. I was trying not to, but it was just so funny. I'm sorry, Lermy.
I read it so long ago, and I just ignored it like a normal person would. But
it made me giggle.
I gotta bring it up.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, maybe.
I'm sorry, guys. I ruined the in-depth answer.
Yeah, I think it's important to look at too, right? A lot of cool things that were in Arena, that was kind of some inspiration to improve Domination, right? So we kind of pulled that into Domination, and it made the game just feel so much better. So there is some point of saying if there's some things that we recognize in Domination that could make the game better, that we can always, shift those things around and such. But it definitely comes with, conversation, testing, dialogue like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm going to throw this one out there because it's just a comment, but we love you and how transparent you guys are.
Aw,
so there you go. People are happy. We love that. I know this was a patch that I remember it was really interesting, just especially like for all the updates that have come out. Like it felt like no matter what, when we were talking about it, like this one kept feeling like it was the biggest upcoming one, and it was like that's crazy considering like a new god launched and there was still like something bigger on the horizon.
We were talking about that too, and how we were like, we're so excited to be able to bring this much excitement at a time when there's so much effort being poured behind the scenes into Smite 2, but we're still cooking on Smite 1, guys. Don't worry, we're not leaving you guys without anything, and especially during the alpha phases where it's going to be periodic. We want to make sure that you guys will always have some kind of Smite content to look forward to, and we're not going anywhere.
I know Shelly, I'm going to do a blanket statement and let you plug content that you've been doing.
Okay.
Which is, I know there were a lot of questions, like I'll see, like it's kind of interspersed of patch, general random question, and then like Smite 2 specific questions.
Right.
And I know there's been a lot of, like, you've been doing a lot of interviews and stuff and like content involving that.
I've been behind the scenes on a lot of Smite 2 stuff. Some things we can't talk about yet, but
just like where can they find videos to find out more information on stuff like that?
Oh yeah, check out
plug your stuff. The thing I said to do.
Check out the Smite Game YouTube channel as well as Smite Pro, both of which are gonna have a lot of interesting Smite 2 content if you want to learn about how the game's going to be. I know Lermy, we're on opposite sides of the coin here. She was saying, Smite 2's cooking, but don't forget Smite 1's also cooking. I'm gonna flip it and say Smite 1's cooking, but don't forget Smite 2's also cooking. So check out.
Everybody's cooking a little bit.
We're all cooking here.
Yeah.
It's a very big kitchen.
Yeah, just check out the YouTube channels. Trust me, there's some good stuff on there.
There you go. So that's the blanket answer for every one of those questions that I glanced over.
Oh yeah.
Then the other thing, especially because it's almost 6, so we can like chill. Y'all have been going for a while now. And so I'll go Trelly and then over like right. What is this? Right to left, left to right? Yeah, right to left.
It's clockwise.
That's so much smarter than what I was saying. Clockwise, what you are looking forward to most when patch drops and what you're going to play first.
Okay, well, I already said the Sobek thing. So
okay, yeah, you're right.
So we're going to skip
damn, wait, I did already ask that. No!
It's okay, we're going to skip that.
Pretend I asked another one.
We're going to skip that. And my new interaction that I would like to test is just, okay, so I'm Chiron, okay? And you're on the other side of the map. Now, I'm going to shoot you a bunch, but now I'm getting ganked, right? So I've shot you with Centaurus, I'm getting ganked. So I'm going to giddy up away.
I feel like I'm
but
there.
As I'm leaving, I'm just going to, and then just, and I'm going to get a kill while I'm getting up away from your enemy jungler, and I'm going to give him a little tiki on the way out. You can now fire Chiron Masterful Shot while giddy upping, okay?
Yeah.
That's the bit.
that's
scene.
I'm going to change the question before it gets to you, Lermy, which is there any last words that you have about the patch? Because that's a question I haven't asked.
Just in general, we are so excited to be in the 11th year of Smite. We want to keep making amazing changes that refresh a lot of these characters, because at the end of the day, when you pick up and play Smite, you're playing a different god, whatever god it might be. You might have a favorite one, you might have a favorite 10, Any of these characters, we want to make sure we're trying to get to a lot of them and freshening them up, making them feel more fluid, making them feel modern. A lot of what makes Smite fun is actually feeling like a god, right?
Yep.
Feeling like you have this kind of impact on the battleground. And that's what a lot of these changes are designed to do, is to give you a new fun thing to try and play with. So again, please, 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 I want to emphasize that a ton. Give us some feedback on these changes. Go ahead, try them in PTS when it comes out, and of course when it comes to live and in ranked and all of that good stuff, because it's gonna be awesome. We want to do more of this stuff if you guys really enjoy it, but that's all dependent on you guys and what you think. So bring your ideas, bring your feedback. We want to hear all of it, and I'm excited to do more.
Anything to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, I echo a lot of the same sentiment there. I mean, it's been so many years in the making. I think I'm approaching almost my 7th year working on Smite, and I think Ro looked into when I had made an account. It was back in 2012. So it's been more than a decade of playing Smite as well. So, I mean, everything we do is just coming from such a strong place of passion and wanting to see this game thrive and you know, bring the best type of value that we can to the game and just strictly make it better, right? Wherever we can make it better, make it more fun, make people enjoy it, make, you know, engagement at whatever we can to bring people in. That's what we're aiming to do.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, we were Smite fans before we were even employees. So
exactly.
Believe us when we're saying it. We wouldn't still be here if we weren't feeling like we can continue to make this game more amazing and more fun for you guys as well.
Yeah, this patch very much comes from the heart, and I think, you know, future patches going forward, especially paying more attention to these things, these are the types of themes that we're going to see more of.
Exactly.
And so I guess with that, make sure, you know, either play on PTS if you get the opportunity to, make sure you're playing the patch when it drops next week, as well as just checking out like all the other content that we put out. You can go to the Smite Game YouTube channel, Smite Pro, Smite VOD if you want to watch old Pro League games. I don't know why I threw that one on there other than it's just on the list of YouTube channels that we have. But then thanks so much for tuning in, asking us questions, and we'll see you on the next Dev Insight.
Made in Georgia.
You hurt me, no, instead I just try to